anything else on that different, other than that?
That's all right here.
Well, while we're waiting on him, just go ahead and look down at your, under personnel, we're striking the police department new hire.
Before we get started, can I say something?
Sure.
You know, the last couple of weeks, I've been looking at the city charter, the Lawson Act, and the state constitution. And to me, it clearly defines the governing authority for the city of Minden as the mayor and the council, not the mayor by itself, and not the council by itself. And that we need to adhere to what's written in the city code. And when the city code goes south, the Lord's Act, so that we can operate this city in a way that we can all kind of get along.
Sure. I agree.
We'll see.
Thanks. I think I have to.
So what I passed out to you guys is the information I received from the clerk's office on the old contract we have with RDS. Who was,
Is it expired?
yes, sir. Who was the company we used to do our occupational license. The contract is the tax administration agreement that y'all received. It looks like this. This explains what the contract entails, and it talks about how they make their money. So not only do we sign a contract with them, I think it's around $5,000, but they also make their money off $11 for every license tax notice mailed. They charge $11 fee for every notification and follow-up. They charge a $5.50 fee for any notices paid, typically the city permits license for the city software, deposit checks, so forth and so on. They also charge a standard hourly rate ranging anywhere from $75 to $200 per hour for consulting and customization services that they invoice on a monthly basis. They also receive 40% of gross occupational license tax revenues collected for all accounts that are identified as not being current for the city's tax rolls and successfully collected by them. So then you have, this is Avenue's sheet of occupational license that they issued and collected. So if you pull this out, you flip to the back page, you'll see the total of $358,584.18. That's how much money they collected for us for occupational license. This paper right here is for the general fund. This is how much money they deposited to us, which is $256,046.89. So they collected $358,584.18 for us and gave us $256,046.89. This is a difference of $102,537.29 on top of the $5,000 contract we already have with them. So this is one of the reasons that the mayor brought this to my attention, that he wanted to do occupational license in-house.
Now, this is from what span from?
They're both from October 2019 to July 31st, 2020.
And that doesn't include the outstanding that we still have
No,
outstanding.
this doesn't include the non-issued or outstanding or businesses that we don't know of.
How long have we had this? How long have they been doing this?
When we were looking at the contracts, I only know for the past 8 years, I've had to ask the city clerk.
Let me ask you a question. How much of that $100,000 that they collected is from bad debt, people refusing to pay, and they got that additional $5 per account?
I don't have, access to Avenue myself, but I can ask the clerk.
So you don't really know how that $100,000 is actually made up?
Well, they went off of the 40% is where, whenever we was looking into the funds and I called Avenue. So to discover of unknown taxpayers, Avenue received an amount of equal to 40% on gross occupational license. Tax revenues collected for all accounts that are identified as not being on current city tax rolls and successfully collected by Avenue.
Okay, so how would they identify those individuals not on the tax roll?
So if they weren't in the year previous on the
Yeah.
tax roll, and they
Yeah.
got them then, that's how they say, okay, well, they weren't here before, but now they are, so we get 40% of whatever we collect.
So we don't report to them, do a equivalent report to them the information for the people on the tax roll to them so they can remit them from, why?
You know what I'm saying? I have no idea how this previous administration.
Well, how would they know who to send taxes to if we don't send them a list?
Do you remember back when you were sitting on the city council and something was brought up about the occupational license? And I stood up and I said, why don't we go after these people on all these past dues? And the city mayor at the time, he said, well, it costs too much money.
Well, it's a provision in this agreement
I
that
realize-
allow them to do that.
I realize
So
that.
why haven't they done it?
I mean, they're already flipping us for way over $100,000, so I mean.
I'm not arguing that point, but what I'm getting at, upon the agreed upon procedures, when we have a contract like this, we're supposed to assign a manager to follow up on this. Has anybody followed up on this to make sure they're in compliance with what we've expected them to do?
The only time I've gotten a report from them is when I've asked Mr. Fleur, can you find out who's past due? And there's a past due list that I think Philip has.
You have a past due list?
Do I have a past due list?
Yeah.
I can go, have Ms. Ford print my off for
Just
it.
give me a number. How many
I think I
numbers?
gave you that.
Yeah, we can get a current one, huh?
Well, we've asked for a current one, they haven't sent it yet.
Michael's not here.
He's not here? Okay, I can ask Ms. Tom, Ms. Tom here? I'll ask Ms. Tom. What was your question?
You said we've been in this
For-
agreement with them for how long?
For my knowing, it was the past 8 years. Now, I'm pretty sure there's contracts before this one that keep going back. But this was the latest and greatest we had.
As of 3/1/2019.
And Michael told me the contract ended last week.
Is it not true that they did better collecting than we did?
What you said, I didn't hear you.
He says it's not true that they did better collecting than we have.
Yeah, than we did in the past.
I can't answer that
I
question.
don't have any data, I have no idea.
Can you get that? I'm just asking a question.
I don't know.
It would depend on how far back your contract goes with them, and if we've been in the same company for over 20 years, and I doubt that everybody's
We
be
didn't
able
have
to.
20 years.
I can
Well-
ask Ms. Conley how long we had them and try to get the tax information.
I was
how much left.
flipping back through there yesterday, I know we've had them through, Mayor Davis, and I know we had them through, Mayor Cornelius, and that's as far back as I got. I think I'm not mistaken, Wanda, you might be able to help me, didn't they initiate that when Bill was still here, or is it,
Bill was still
is it
here,
the same
Tim
company?
Colonial retired, and Brenda Werner was doing occupational license, and she retired.
Okay.
And it's at that time that he outsourced.
Do you know why we outsourced?
He thought it would be financially more feasible to outsource it than to hire a new employee.
Okay.
So we need that information.
Well, my thing is me and Philip were sitting in my office the other day, and we rattled off about 10 people right off the top of our head that we were looking at the list that didn't even have occupational license, and we were just kind of going down Main Street and Industrial Drive.
How long have they been in business?
Well, some of them a fairly decent time. I mean, I can give you a perfect, look, let me give you a perfect example of one reason that I really started, when I first came in the door here as mayor, I said, we need to bring occupational license back in, it's a revenue stream for the city. And I've been off and on it, for several times, and I've brought it up several times and mentioned it several times, but what really hit home with me is when Popeye's Fried Chicken walked in the door about a month and a half ago with a check for $6,000, and they said, oh, by the way, we haven't had an occupational license since we've been in business, and our auditors probably said we won't pay up.
So when they got their permit from the city, there was no mention that they required occupational license?
There was nothing in past administration, when you go to get your water or lights or anything like that, that you have to have an occupational license, no. And
Do
and
we have anything,
this is what we're trying to get in place. So for their checklist, when they go to get their permit, they'll first, Mr. Cooley will have to inspect their building to make sure that it's worthy for a business to be in there, that will pass fire marshal approval and health inspections and that type of thing. And then, in the same form, they will have to go down to the, Webster Parish Sales Tax Commission, they have to apply for their sales tax license. Then they will have to do their occupational license, then they can get their utilities turned on. So it's gonna be a win-win for us, because we're, one, gonna have the occupational license that we're missing on, and two, we're gonna collect sales tax. It's just a no-brainer for us to start doing this.
But it just seems like the ball was dropped somewhere before. I mean, whenever they, like, Mr. Ellis said, whenever they were getting permits, then it should have been mentioned that they need an occupational license, so the ball has just been dropped. I mean, going away with this company is not really going to help that if there's nothing in place that says you have to have an occupational license, so that's where we need to start, but I don't feel like we need to try to handle this ourselves.
Well,
When
it's
we
just
have
gonna be,
someone that's doing it.
to me, it's a financial decision, that we need to do it. We need to, I know what happened in the past in the rearview mirror, but I'm looking at the windshield and wanna go forward.
but I don't think we fulfilled this contract.
Do what now?
I don't think we have fulfilled this contract as far as giving them the information, is what they need, and tell them, let's go get those people that owe us money.
But they can't go get those people that is said to owe money, because there was nothing in place that said they needed to have an occupational license.
Right.
So you can't
Oh,
go after those.
I'm not saying go back and get them, just saying from this point on.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, from this point on, we have a way to collect all this information, and that's why I say I can't look in the rearview mirror and see what past administrations did. We need to look through the windshield and go forward and do what's best for the city financially to help us generate some revenue that we so badly need. And this doesn't require any additional employees.
So who would do it?
The Economic Development Department, since that's a good fit. They could pay online or however they wanna do it. If they wanna turn it in person, then, they pay here, go down there at that window and pay. And if they wanna put it on their credit card, they can do that, and then they can pay.
When did this contract expire?
Philip, what'd you tell them a while ago?
Michael said last Tuesday.
But according to this, there's already provisions in there for them to get licensed by doing a triplicate form of that. And
And Mr. Fleur can tell you this, you know, the frustration that people have with this company to do this. For example, there's businesses that, to get your, liquor license renewed, you have to have a current occupation license, right? Okay, so the business came in and had tried for 6 different times to try to get through the process to get an occupational license, and it kept locking them out and shutting them down. So, got the phone call from the business, I called and said, come in and let's let our city clerk help you through the process. Mr. Fleur could not get through the process. Then he called them, and they had to call him back a day or 2 later before we could finally get the license done. We're making it too hard to do business in Minden, Louisiana.
But there's a procedure in this policy that allow them to get licensed here on city property. What's wrong with that?
Well, if we're gonna do that, then why do we need them, if we're gonna do it here on city property?
Well, I'm just saying what's written in the contract.
Oh,
It's written into this contract.
oh, I understand. But I mean, you know, we require them to go online, from what I understand. Like I said, I'm only looking forward.
Well, this contract gives an option. It's already there.
I can't answer that question. I'd have to.
It's written in black and white in this policy.
I mean, I can't answer that question if they come sit down and fill them out. I just know that the frustration this customer had trying to get it done online.
They can go to the utility department and fill out the application, and they just mail it into this company.
Yeah, that's what's written in the form.
And that is the case.
And a lot of the reasons people get past due and they don't pay their license is it gets thrown in the trash. Because the envelope or none of the forms have anything about the city of Minden. And you see it, and this looks like junk mail. I myself personally threw it away.
I guess one law staff, they are required to send us monthly a listing of their collections, according to this contract.
Okay.
And if, somebody named, when you do a quarterly, don't appear on it, then that ought to be a red flag, cause this say they're supposed to send them 3 notices.
So are they?
I mean, I don't know, I mean, this is the first time I read this contract,
Yeah.
was, last night.
Mhm.
And, I'm thinking we got the tools in place, we're just not using them.
So the tools in place is to give them $100,000+ a year when we have employees in place and we can keep that $100,000+ a year ourselves to put into our operating budget.
When you tell me how that 100,000 has been collected from where? Cause if, according to this, it's from some delinquent accounts, people not paying.
I think it's from their fees, is from the way I understand it. I mean, they collect $40 here, $11 there, $5 here, plus their $5,000 we pay them. And then if we, from what I understand, if we call and ask questions and things like that, then they charge us a fee for us asking them a question. I mean, this company's in a win-win situation.
And then I guess I'm a little curious, when we did the budget last week, I don't remember hearing $100,000 fee paid to RDS. I thought he said that fee was $8,000.
It was $8,000, but it never comes to us for us to write a check and send back to them. They hold it before it ever gets here.
So what was the 8,000 we was talking about in the budget?
No signed contract.
Top line, I can hear you.
Wasn't that our obligation,
Yeah, Mike
signing
says
the
that's in the
contract was
contract.
$8,000.
It's in the work for us. And they take their shares before they even send it back to us.
$8,000, but I thought it was $5,000.
Yeah, the current thing was like 5,400. I think previous it was around 8,000. And I think the contract before, it was being audited,
Mhm.
this contract is not being audited anymore, so I think that's where they're saving some money.
So whenever they send out a notification, are we notified of the notifications that have been sent out? Because they could easily say they've sent out 3 and actually sent out 1, so are we notified, do we receive a list of the notifications once they're sent out? So,
you can request, who's paid and who hasn't, but there's no list of who.
Because if they receive $11 every time they send out a tax notification, then how do we know they're actually doing it? Who's checking behind them? Where's
No
the
one
data
here
for
that I'm
that?
aware of.
So, I mean, yeah, it is a win-win situation if the ball is being dropped and no one is asking the questions. I think some questions need to be asked first and get the answers to those questions.
So this presentation is for the council to decide if we wanna go back to the city collection, is that correct?
No, the presentation is just to make the council aware of what we're doing.
So
Or
you,
you've already started doing it?
Yes, sir, it didn't require council approval to not renew the contract.
So you all have already started collecting?
Yes,
The
sir.
only reason we started collecting in-house, so this contract's up, and when they were sent occupational license and applications, they sent them back to us. So then those businesses cannot get their utilities turned on until they have.
but it
occupational
was just up last Tuesday, so
Correct.
how many have you done since last
4.
Tuesday?
How many?
license. 4.
And we're gonna, besides saving the city the 100,000 plus the 5,000 or whatever that fee is, all the new additional occupational license and then the sales tax on that will be collected. I think you're gonna see a good revenue stream out of this. You know, we've got to,
So I just did this in-house until we find out what we were gonna do. I didn't wanna turn any businesses around or have someone feuding at us because we're not turning the utilities on for this business.
And you sure this doesn't have to come in front of the council to whether we wanna renew that contract?
I asked Ms. Conley and I asked Mr. Fleur, how did we get here? And what did we need to do to move this forward? And they said it did not require council approval.
This is not a contract.
Yeah.
It was a contract.
Is Mr. Fleur in?
No, he had to take his wife to
Just kindly then.
a doctor's appointment.
He said he would be available by phone if you wanna call him.
Okay, would you like for us to call Mr. Fleur by phone?
Yeah, I'd like to hear him say that we don't, the council doesn't have to
Would you,
be
You know,
involved
would
with
you
that.
get Mr. Fleur on the phone?
You know, it's
We
not-
might wanna renew it,
Well,
you know, it's not-
and then we don't have an opportunity to renew it if you already started.
well, there's an attorney general opinion that say the mayor cannot unilaterally terminate a contract which has been approved by a board without vote or to do so by a board.
It expired.
The contract expired?
It
Yes, sir.
expired last Tuesday.
Anybody have a copy of that contract? I mean, the exact date that it was,
You got that?
and the date,
Date it
I'm
expired?
sorry. No problem.
and the date that it actually,
This one only tells
it
me.
doesn't tell us, no, it doesn't
Yeah.
say, it don't say what date that it was actually.
It doesn't say how many days it's for.
No, you get that, Chair,
I've got 455 1671.
He's not the doctor with his wife, is he?
Oh, we don't. Maybe, maybe Martha has that
Oh, okay.
date that you.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system. 3 1 8
Call us.
4 5 5 1 6 7
Just ask them to
1
call
is
the
not
switchboard
available.
and transfer system.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Michael, this is Pam, we're having a workshop, could you call through the switchboard and get them to connect you to us? Thanks. Oh, it's currently, what, 10:30, thanks.
I'm also texting.
Okay.
call the question.
But if the mayor went into this contract without the council,
Yeah, the mayor did not get council approval to go into the contract, we couldn't find anything on that. And the mayor didn't get council approval to approve it every year. Y'all were on, y'all approved it,
Y'all, we wasn't here when Bill was it.
no, but it's
Well,
been
that-
renewed every year under Tommy.
That's what I
You
was-
were here when Tommy was
I
here.
got cut off, but I was fixing to say, when Mayor Davis approved it, do y'all remember voting on it?
I think we got some of the same problem, we not following the procedures of this book. This may have been done without our knowledge, but to be honest with you, had this occurred when we was here, we was questioning.
You know, then,
She's in a meeting.
Well, until he calls us back, you wanna jump over here on this, and then we can, instead of just sitting here and wait? Is that a yes?
That's fine.
Okay. So, let's go over here and look at the, adopt the minutes from February 3rd all the way down to June 3rd. Anybody have any questions?
I'm not adopting it.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not, those minutes are not. If there was no meeting.
Here's the contract. Y'all probably talked to one.
Let's take that first from February 3rd.
Okay.
What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it?
The minutes were incorrect, if I'm not mistaken.
the veto was
Yeah.
no good. Ms. Blossom could not vote on that, but she had interest in that.
Yeah.
We only needed a 2/3 vote, and if her vote didn't count, we'd have a 2/3 vote.
Did you have your lawyer, have a city lawyer look at that? Were we in compliance?
At the city attorney we had at the
She
present.
told them that that those minutes were wrong, and now she shouldn't have voted because she had an interest in it, but what he said was ignored.
So is that in the minutes?
It's
Because
not.
the minutes are actually what happened.
And it was stated on the record that she should not have
Well,
been.
I have trouble hearing to it now.
It was stated and said for the record, she shouldn't have voted. But when Wanda did the minutes, that was not in the minutes, and so that's why we never approved the minutes.
That's right, Mr. Minifield testified that night.
He did. And so, no.
All I can say is the minutes are, as Wanda takes them, that's how she records them.
Well, I don't care how she recorded it, she didn't record it accurately.
Where's the recording?
She didn't record it accurately, so,
If it's a recording, we can listen to it.
Do we have it, the recorded?
Okay, I can go back and listen to it, and if Manfield said for the record, I'll put it in the record. If it's discussion, it doesn't go in the minutes, just the motion, the second, and the vote.
You know, I wasn't part of the voting process, but I read back through some of this, and I do have some questions, and I don't know if we can get them answered here today or not. I know it takes a 2/3 vote, and I understand Ms. Blockman voted, should she have voted? That's the question.
The way I read the law was that if I have monetary gain coming towards me, I cannot vote. And if you remember back when you were on the council before, when y'all voted for, pay for the firemen, Benny always
Excused
he
himself.
always did, cause he was gonna get paid.
Mm-hmm.
This was no payment to me. This was me paying for something that would benefit the recreation center and the kids.
I understand that, but the way the Lawson Act is written, every office president shall be required to vote on all questions unless excused by the council, but shall not vote for himself on a question involving his individual interest unless he prepares and files a statement permitted by law RS 4211-120.
Okay? All right? So what are you saying?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Okay,
So it got, that's what she said, that's part of it, but here's the deal, when the discussion was had, when it said that if the sign came down, she wanted her money back. She would be reimbursed, she said she wanted her
She
money
wanted to
back,
know
someone
who
said
was gonna-
$40,000, in fact, he said to be exact, it was $41,000. She wanted her money back, so that means, she had an interest, she never should have voted. She should not have voted. So, then we would have had the 2/3.
Well, she wasn't receiving monetary gain though.
She was getting her money back. What is that? She's getting her money back.
We wasn't
That's what she
voting,
said.
we weren't voting to
She
give her her money back.
said, but we voted and it was discussed that if that sign came down, she said she wanted her money back.
You vetoed, we voted against taking the sign down.
Mhm.
It was a 3-2 vote, you vetoed,
I did.
and you didn't have that authority, because she didn't have a vote in that. So that's why those minutes hadn't paid.
That's right.
And let me be honest, I strongly suggest we get a legal opinion on this to decide what we need to do. Cause I'm not here for no swing vote, I'm here for a right vote.
Okay. So, Mr. Yocum, I need you to get us a legal opinion on that.
I mean, I can tell you, excuse me, I'm always kind of cracking. I can tell you my opinion from just having been a spectator in all this. Usually when it says having an interest, that's a pecuniary interest. You mind if I lift this up a little bit to speak? Okay, everyone? That might be Mr. Floor, or is it?
hello? Michael, hold on one second.
Wanda, you want some?
Yeah, would you do this? Thank you.
Mr. Fleur,
Mayor, good morning.
good morning. We're here in the, workshop and Mr. Bradford has a question for you.
Okay.
When was this contract put into effect, and when was it to end?
You're a hot,
He's referring to the occupational contract.
Did it? Did you got a date when it ended? What is it?
2012 is when it
I
started, the
hardly,
contract.
I hardly know the things with,
When did it end?
What did you say, Mr. Fleur?
yeah,
Mr. Floor, they're referring to the contract entered into with Avenue, I believe is the name of it, concerning occupational licenses. They were wondering when the contract was entered into and if you knew the specific date that it was to expire. Is that correct?
to my understanding, what the contract is saying is that, the contract expired in June. Because we signed, and they signed the contract last year in June, I believe the 28th.
Do you know whether or not the council ever approved a contract?
Say it again, sir.
He asked, do you know when the contract was initially entered into, was that as a result of council approval, or was it done unilaterally by the previous mayor?
My understanding was when Mrs. Werner left city, there was an approval, requested by Mayor Robertson to get into a contract, it would be continued year by year, the contract.
Does that answer everyone's question, or do you have anything else?
Did he say whether or not he got council approval for the contract?
No. Not specifically. So are you saying that the council gave Mayor Robinson the authority to enter into a contract and to renew it yearly? Or did Mayor Robinson just go ahead and enter into a contract without consulting the previous council?
I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that, Mayor Robertson asked at that time to get, the approval from the council to enter into a contract. But since then, there was never again an approval requested from the council to enter into a yearly contract.
Okay, so just to be sure we are on the same page, you're saying that Originally, the council approved for Mayor Robinson to enter into a contract and for the mayor to have to yearly or annually renew that contract. And that it hasn't been addressed by the council since its inception.
That is my understanding, yes, sir. But I'm not 100% sure if Mayor Robinson, requested the approval from the council at that time when Mrs. Werner, left City Hall and we entered into a contract.
Did you research that and look back to see what you could find on that?
It should be in the file. I handed over to you yesterday, I believe, and we would have to look in the minutes. It goes back, several years, I believe in 2010 or so.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Mr. Floor? Okay, thank you, Mr. Floor.
Okay, thank you, bye-bye.
Do you see council approval on that? 'Cause I don't remember.
No, we're gonna have to check the minutes for council approval. It does say it was entered into agreement in September of 2011, and that it was on a 3-year basis.
But if you don't see any council approval on it, do you?
It would be.
No, these are just emails between the company and Mr. Floor.
In the file, you're probably looking for a reference to minutes or actual minutes in there. So going back to an interest. So an interest is generally a pecuniary interest, something that you benefit or profit from, not just simply something that you were a part of. It has to be something you seek to gain. So to Ms. Williams-Walker's point, she's saying that she potentially could have gained $41,000 in refund, but to my recollection, and I might be incorrect to that recollection, the motion on the table was not to refund. I believe there was a lot of discussion and debate as to whether or not she would even receive her money back without having to file a suit of some sort or go through that. And if she did receive her money, whom would it come from? So my legal opinion is that it would not be an interest under the legal definition of when you're interested in a vote, that this would not be that. I think it's closer than normal, but I don't think it crosses that line into an interested party. And then to the legality of the veto, our charter states that the mayor has the power to veto unless there's a full council present to the contrary. So irregardless of whether or not she was interested or not interested, whether it be 3/5 or 3/4 vote, there's still not a full council present, so the mayor's veto power under our charter would remain. We are what's called a special legislative charter. There are 3 types of municipalities in Louisiana. The Larson Act, which I find a very hard word to say. Then there's a home rule charter and a special legislative charter. We are one of 5 or 6 municipalities in the state, and I believe we're the largest one that's a special legislative charter. What that means is that in 1926, the state legislature placed our charter into state law, and as Mr. Minifield, the analogy that he used previously, it kind of became our constitution. So it gives a broad stroke of the outlines of the authorities granted by the state to the city and to run its affairs. The problem with that is that they're broad strokes. And so if our first is the charter, right, like the Constitution is made up of 28 amendments, and then there's a bunch of laws underneath which are ordinances. If ours are silent, then there's no law to that effect. Now, the reason we look to the Larson Act is not that it's necessarily binding law. It's simply that if it went to a court, that is what a court would do. And that every lawyer that I've spoke to across the board agrees that all they're gonna do is look to the Larson Act. So what we do is look to the Larson Act for guidance if our charter is silent in that respect. But on the mayoral veto power, our charter is not silent. It speaks specifically to the veto power of the mayor, which requires a full quorum present, which either way wasn't the case. So I hope that answers your question. Now, if y'all wanted that in writing with a bunch of fancy legal language and citations, I'd be happy to do that, but that would be my opinion, unless there's some attorney general opinion or case law to the contrary that I'm not aware of.
Could you look?
Can
Yes, sir.
the mayor veto a motion?
Under our charter, he can vote, he can
He got a
veto.
motion now, not a ordinance or
Yeah, so under our charter, he can veto any act, whether that be a motion or a resolution. An ordinance starts off
I wanna see that.
as a motion. I can try and find some case law to
Yeah,
that.
because that's not the
That's
opinion I
not
got
that.
from the Attorney General.
Okay,
No,
You have a written opinion from Ms. Walker?
So,
yeah.
yeah, if
You
you have
have
that
it-
opinion, I'd be happy to look at that as well. But the charter says any act, which again, broad strokes, right? What the heck's an act? Well, it's an action, whether it be a motion or a resolution. So I would tend to think that any act, unless there be a full quorum present, because it goes back to the checks and balances of government, like Mr. Edwards was saying earlier, you know, it's teamwork. It's just the nature of democracy. So you have legislature, executive, and then the judicial, which would be, I guess, more of Judge Santel. Some people say the city attorney, I think that's more analogous to an attorney general. But there's that checks and balances there, but ours does address an act of the council. Well, I would consider a motion or a resolution an act, but if you have, an attorney general opinion, I'd be happy to read it.
Let me ask you a question. How did we get here, and what is it gonna take to fix this?
Take
what
the
is it gonna
sign
take
down.
to fix it?
Yeah.
Take the sign down. Now, how
Sign
we
was
get
put
here
up
because it's-
illegally.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line.
What's your opinion on the sign?
You cannot put stuff on city property when you want to.
Without the approval of the council.
Okay.
So the sign issue,
Yeah.
I'm kind
Well,
of,
can you not answer it now and do a little research and put it in writing to us?
I can give you my opinion as of now, to do some research now. Whether or not my research alters that opinion or not, I don't know.
I understand that.
Yes, sir. So, you know, if I say something now, then when I give you an opinion later, if they conflict, it's because I discovered something in the interim. But as of now, our charter gives broad jurisdiction over parks to our council. It says that they have basically a general jurisdiction over parks, passages, sewage,
Right.
lighting, adornments, you know, different things. So it grants to the council the ability to make decisions concerning parks. Does the council exercise that power regularly? No. I mean, to my recollection, you know, lighting and adornment, there's not an annual vote on Christmas lights on parks or trash cans and benches on parks. So the exercise of that authority has, strictly speaking, in the past, been something to the construction of a park or the remodeling of a park or different things. So when this gift happened, right, again, do y'all mind if I look this up a little bit? So when this gift happened, I'll scoot back for you a bit.
No, you okay?
So when this gift happened, to my understanding, it transpired in this way. There was a fence needed around the football field. I remember that football field, the balls going down in the ditch and all that. So a fence was donated, a gift was donated to the Booster Club of $41,000 approximately, and then in exchange, it was renamed the T.C. Bloxham Memorial Football Field, or whatever the name of it is. So that gift was made, that gift was accepted and then applied. Whether or not the council had the approval, in my opinion, the council had never exercised that approval or that jurisdiction in that way before. So there was no way for someone to be on notice that, hey, this has to have council approval, because it had not been exercised in that way before. What was the authority and jurisdiction there? In my opinion, it was. It's specific that the council has the authority over parks. The problem is this, is that the gift was given, accepted, and applied. And so now,
Who accepted it?
We didn't accept it.
I understand that, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that the
Okay.
council, I'm saying that it was accepted by the Booster Club.
And the Booster Club had not been, we had not given them consent to even be a Booster Club at the time this was put up.
Yes, sir, yeah.
So
but
they
I-
didn't have the authority. Come on.
Yeah, and I understand, so someone accepted it, right?
Okay.
The money was taken, and then the fence was constructed and the sign was placed up. If that person, entity that accepted it could be argued, probably successfully, they were an agent of the city. If the mayor accepted it, the mayor is
And I did,
is an agent of the city.
and I accepted it.
And so you get into issues of the city's bound to it, you know, whether the council approved it or not.
No,
There was-
I just don't see that, because, I mean, he accepted it, so this is my thing, if he's sitting here saying he accepted it, when the sign comes down, then he give her money back, but the council did not accept it.
Yes,
And-
ma'am.
And, no, and you cannot name city property without the approval of the council.
I understand that, yes.
Okay, so that's where we are, it's just cut and dry, you cannot name city property without the approval of the council. Now, if he admitted that he accepted the $41,000,
I agree.
take signed out, and he give our money back.
Okay,
I just heard
When I
that.
say accept,
Well, he said he accepted as an agent of the city, that's what you just said, correct?
As an
Okay,
agent
then
of
he
the
give
city.
our money back.
Let
The
me-
sign
as
need
an
to come
agent
down,
of the
that's how
city
we
would be the key
rectify it.
part.
let me explain something, and I've explained this at several other city council meetings, and I'm gonna go several years back.
We're not talking about several years back,
Well,
now.
I
You
am,
just said that
no,
you weren't looking in the
no.
rear view, or you weren't looking at the back glass.
Well, I'm not.
We're looking at the front windshield, so we're trying to move forward, so you wanna
Okay,
keep going
good deal.
back.
Okay, so we're moving forward, let's go forward and approve the minutes and get on down the road.
I ain't-
But what I was gonna say, and I'm gonna say this for your, for your benefit, thank you for the word. You know, when Yule Park, that building was named
Yes.
after Mr. Yule.
Yeah, that's what you do.
There was no council approval. When the fountain in Academy Park was donated in memory of Archie Pippin, there was no council approval. When the gazebo was built over there in honor of Bill Green, there was no council approval. When the bell was donated right up here in the Bell Garden, there was no council approval. When the fence was put around the tree, there was no council approval. All of these things were done, and the mayor accepted all of them.
Well,
So,
on the fence, the mayor did talk to us about
it never was, it never did go
it.
to council approval.
But he did talk to us.
Well, I talked, we talked
No,
about
you
it.
didn't, the sign was up when we knew something about it,
Well,
so you didn't talk to us.
Okay, so
what?
let me finish my sentence, please.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so, we said in meetings, and I said, I'm looking for $40,000 for a fence. I'm gonna go to Fiberbond, I'm gonna go to GBT, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there. I went to all these places, and I said, we can call it Fiberbond Field, or B1 Field, or whatever. We talked about all this. I couldn't get the money from anybody else, and Miss Bloxham here, she said, well, I'll donate the money, we call it TC Field. Great, done. That's what happened.
She'll donate if you put her husband's name on it.
Just like when I talked to Fiberbond about, and B1, and GBT, and others, yes. Exactly right.
Yeah.
It wasn't a newsflash to anybody.
Well, we're not here to do what they did in the past, we're here to do what's right.
Yeah, this is the past, this is.
Well, we talking about what's right, you talking about your park and all that.
I am.
That's in the past, they did it wrong.
Yeah.
So why don't we do it right? If that's what you're for, you for
So-
being right and not looking behind you,
So,
why don't we do it the right?
So moving forward,
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
if y'all wanna do it right moving forward, we can do it right moving forward.
So
But
we
this is
just-
already done, this is behind us.
No.
No, it is behind us.
It's not behind us, cause the minutes ain't been approved.
Well, the minutes might not ever get
And we
approved, I
still
guess.
fighting it, so it's not approved.
Well, they might not ever get approved, I guess.
That's true. The
So-
sign may come down though.
Okay, so we don't agree on February 3rd, anything about February 11th?
I'm gonna go back and listen to February the 3rd, and Mr. Manaville said for the record, I will put it in there.
Okay.
Can we listen to it?
Yeah, I have to do it on my computer.
I think they're also on YouTube, if YouTube access.
Somebody needs to listen to it other than,
Okay, tell what kind of problem you had with February the 11th. What's wrong with that, February the 11th?
I don't even have a copy of that.
You don't see it? It's
Yes,
in
you
there.
do.
It's right in your packet.
What happened on February?
That's were talking about the employee manual, it was related to that. And Mr. Taylor offered a substitute motion that a freeze would be placed on hiring until the employee manual was completed. And the motion passed, but the mayor said that he wasn't honoring the substitute motion. That was that whole thing right there.
Substitute motion wasn't germane to the original motion.
But it was all about the employee matter, right? So where are we at on the employee matter?
They don't talk about that no more.
No, Mr. Minifield, they would not
Who
let
are
us.
they?
They would not let us send it to a labor attorney to have approval. That Ms. Walker and Mr. Bradford, and was Mr. Taylor here then in February?
Yeah,
Yes, he was.
Okay, those councilmen wanted it to go to Minifield, for Minifield to look at it. And Minifield said that he would look at it, and we're still waiting for Mr. Minifield to look at it and get it back. Had we gone ahead and sent it over to the labor attorney, we would have had it back with his recommendations. That's where we are with the employee manual.
okay, so at some point, you're gonna sit at this table and you're gonna tell the truth. No, that is not where we are with it. That is not where we were. So at
Excuse
some
me,
point.
I'm not gonna be called a
Well,
liar.
Well, you are.
Whoa, no, we're not, hey, listen.
Hey, who you hollering at?
We're not gonna sit here.
Yeah, I can
and call-
holler in here
We're
now.
not gonna sit here and call
Well,
people
we gonna say
liars.
what we gonna
I'm
say.
gonna lie, I said at
She
some
said
point,
she
she
not
gonna
gonna
say
be
it,
called
she
a
gonna
liar.
tell the truth. This is where we are with the employee manual. You asked Mr. Minifield to put it on hold because you wanted to talk about get the alcohol ordinances done. That's where we are with
Ms.
the
Walker.
employee manual. No,
Ms.
sir, you
Walker.
all would not sit
Ms.
here,
Walker.
you would not sit here and
Let her
give
talk.
false information.
Ms.
That
Walker.
does
Let her
not
talk.
make sense. You would not sit here and give false information. That is where we are. You asked him to put it to the side to work on the alcohol ordinances.
That's right.
Do you not remember that?
Was
I
it
remember that, but
recorded?
are you done now? Okay.
True. So what
okay,
she said is
okay,
not true.
Okay, this is where we are on the employee manual. Mr. Yoakum, tell them what I've talked to you about the employee manual. So this is where we are, Ms. Walker, and I've visited with our city attorney on it.
So, again, are y'all okay with, I'll just back up a little bit. Mayor Gardner sent me the employee manual, asked me to review it, and brought me kind of up to speed, and, you know, I live here, so I've been watching the council meetings and different things, so I kind of was broadly aware of the contentions over the employee manual. I'm still not sure as to the specific contentions, but that there are contentions over it. I informed him that the city attorney is not really the proper party to do that. Under our charter, it lists the duties of the city attorney. Employment law is a very specific thing. Moreover, an employee manual is more of a human resources issue because it governs internal affairs. It covers the management of whether it be the city or Amazon.com or whatever. It covers the employees. So I would be happy to look at it and give my very broad opinion, but it would be my legal opinion and my recommendation as an attorney to send it to a law firm that specifically dealt with these things, that could give you a full opinion as to all of the laws under Title VII, for the federal laws and then state laws, and also employee or employment law firm would also have human resource background to be able to say, not only is this the right way lawfully, unlawfully, but this is also a good way as far as in a management sense. And that I'd be happy to make some recommendations of law firms that I have worked with in the past that I felt that would do a good job. And to prevent any local biases or anything of that nature, I would recommend that it be someone either in the Monroe area, the Alexandria area, somewhere away from here. That way we all would feel safe that it was not being influenced in any regard.
And that's where we are on the employee manual.
Can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
This council will have 5 members. I don't know why Mr. Beer stepped down, and I heard why Pam stepped down. We all gotta get on the same page, and we all gotta damned up, tempered up, whatever. And
Let's make a note
We
that
all-
they walked out the meeting. We're gonna put that in there too.
that we need to process.
This is always done when we walk out.
Call another meeting, so that we just gotta work together.
You know,
It's a lot of things here I
I-
don't like,
I
but I'm
work
trying to
with
work
people,
through
but
it.
I'm honest, I'm not going to sit here and lie about anything, I'm honest, and
Right.
I mean, I'm very transparent. Now, to sit here and say one thing and you know it's not true, I'm just not gonna have it, and I'm not gonna allow it, and not say anything about it, because what she said was not true.
Right.
That was not true. It, to a certain degree, now, we did say we didn't wanna send it to anyone, it was someone you said you knew that you recommended, and we said no.
No, it was somebody that me and you met down at the LMA that
Yeah.
worked, that's for the LMA.
So,
I've never laid eyes or spoke with the gentleman. I said, the LMA recommended that, and
No.
that's telling the truth, because, see that camera back there, everything we have on that
yeah,
camera.
I know,
So,
Will that mean recorded?
sir,
yeah, it was recorded.
yes, sir,
Mhm.
yes, sir.
It was recorded.
Just
and
about
that's what
everything
happened.
we do is recorded, so we won't have these
Okay.
problems.
But Wanda, can you go back on this particular meeting that, Pam was trying to explain what
No,
happened?
she
right?
can't do that, but he can.
Can you do that?
What kind of, what are we talking about?
Was there a
Where,
workshop?
where Ms. Walker called Pam a liar,
No, she didn't.
oh, what did she say?
I don't think that's what Wayne's talking about, are you?
What are you talking
No,
about?
I did not call her.
He's talking, I think he's referring to the
She
recommendation.
said she wasn't gonna sit there and be
Are
called.
you talking about the
Yeah.
council meeting?
Yeah.
It was a workshop, it was a workshop,
Oh,
actually, we
no,
were
I
talking
take-
about it during, whatever,
that'd be
whenever we met, talking about the employee manual.
That'd be Will,
Yeah, you can go on YouTube and
yeah.
pull it
Will
up and
can
look
tell
at
you
it,
how to
yeah.
watch that if you want.
No, we all probably need to look at it together,
Yeah.
it's what needs to happen.
I mean, we
I don't
could,
know.
but the
No,
fact
we
of the
can.
matter is that it was asked to be put on hold, so the alcohol ordinances could get done because it was passed that, you know.
That is
it was
correct,
no
but we
longer-
hadn't let it lie. Mr. Minifield was looking at it, never got back with me.
You had
and-
him working on the alcohol ordinance.
And,
And you said that, you
Well-
had him working on the alcohol ordinance, so don't try to throw him under the bus like you didn't ask him
Oh,
to
I'm
do
not.
it. You asked him
Yes,
to
you
put
did.
it to the side, to work on the alcohol ordinance, because it was more pressing that we get it done, so we could vote on.
and me and Wanda and Pam and Mr. Cooley spent many hours on that alcohol ordinance, and Mr. Minifield did come in from time to time and give his opinion. You're absolutely correct.
And to speak on that, the drafting of ordinances and legislation under, you know, the rules of government falls to the legislative branch, which would be the council. It's not the purview or job of the city attorney to draft it. You know, all the laws are written by the legislature, and so. the
A
way-
template was provided, basically.
Yes, ma'am.
And we filled it in with the information as it pertains to the city amended.
Yes, ma'am.
We tweaked it to that, so it wasn't just on the city attorney, we had a few workshops,
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
to discuss it, and I'm sure you know that.
I didn't
Because
know
you
that.
kept up with everything here, even from the time when you were in there at a council meeting, you stood up and you made a comment directly towards me. So you-
I don't
you
think I
kept
ever done
up.
anything directly towards you. I stood up and made a comment and specifically said to all five that were present, which I stand by, you know, the Bible says, come now, let us reason together. If you felt like it was directed towards you specifically, I apologize. But I haven't kept up with all the workshops or anything like that on a day-to-day basis. But as long as what you're saying is true, you know, that y'all provided the template and all that, Mr. Minifield's job would be to advise on, yes, that's properly worded, or yeah, that's lawful or unlawful.
And that's what he did.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And me and one council member worked on that piece of legislation.
Your favorite council member.
So
Who's my favorite? I don't ever remember calling. Do I have a favorite?
Yeah, there's no doubt that you do.
Who might that be, Mr. Bradford?
Well, I don't care what you like.
No, I know,
There's a lot of things I don't like,
No,
but
I
I
said,
put
who
up
is
with
he
it.
said, who?
I said, who is my favorite?
Oh. Yeah.
So where do we go from
Everyone in
here?
here knows.
Well, my first suggestion is we need to adjourn the meeting since we can't, I mean,
We have
We
a
got a
quorum.
pool. Okay.
you know,
They walked out.
we need
got
some
a
advice
quorum.
from the other two.
You can get them on, call them just like you were calling us.
Yeah.
Call them.
They
We
walked
have
out.
a quorum.
Okay, well, let's move on then.
Alright.
Okay, so now we're done with 11, let's, so we won't be here past midnight. Look at March the second.
Okay, wait a minute, what we gonna do about the 11th? We gonna take the employee manual and do what with it? What's the
Well,
next
this is
step?
just about the minutes.
This is just about the minutes of what happened, it's not about what we're gonna do to him.
You just take that off for August third meeting. We're not gonna do anything about it.
Which one?
Both of them. I mean, we're not, why should they be on the agenda, we're not gonna address it?
The law said again, all unfinished business gotta be on there.
Yeah, we
February
be on there,
3rd,
then,
I'm gonna go.
then
back
we
and
vote
listen.
against it, what? You just waste the paper.
I'm gonna go back and listen to February 3rd. February 11th is what happened.
Everything's what happened. So, February the 11th,
Return to meeting date. No, no. Right now, this time.
thank you for keeping up with it for me.
Oh, I will, don't worry about it.
Okay, so February the 11th,
That was the issue about the employee manual, right?
yeah, that's just what happened.
Now, what about March 2nd?
What about March 2nd?
I really don't think it was anything about March 2nd, it's just that,
Yeah.
it was, we didn't meet after to approve the minutes for March 2nd. The next time we had a meeting was March 16th, which was the special meeting, and that was to address a mistake or something in the alcohol ordinances, so I
So
don't
March
think it was,
2nd.
I think March 2nd is okay. We didn't address it at the March 16th meeting, that was just, a special meeting to address the alcohol ordinance, redoing it.
Okay, what about March 16th?
We just haven't met to approve the minutes for
On
March
the 16th?
Because after that, that's when we went in and stayed home. So we didn't meet, after we haven't met.
Now, what about April 6th? Because that's when there was no meeting.
No, we didn't.
This is when the mayor said, according to the governor, that we wouldn't have a meeting on.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then he changed it after we found out that Mr. Taylor resigned, and come back and said, well, we don't have a meeting.
Yeah, I was following the governor's mandate.
No.
On what day, on the 6th you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
With-
were following the governor's mandate, which one was that?
Well, he's got so many of them, but yeah.
Which one were you following, because you sent an email saying that this April 6th meeting was canceled.
Yeah, he gave,
You canceled this meeting.
Yeah, the council.
I understand.
No.
But y'all told Channel Proof that you weren't coming because you didn't have the vote anymore.
No, I
That's what
didn't.
y'all said.
You saw that?
Yeah,
You
you
heard
just
that?
told me
You heard that?
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that you heard that.
What, you heard what?
That we said we
They said
weren't
they
coming
weren't
to the
coming
meeting,
because they
but.
didn't have a vote anymore. That's why they didn't
I
come to
never
this
said
meeting.
that.
That hadn't been said,
I
man.
never said that.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, sure
I'll
you
try
do.
to find it.
Well,
Yeah,
please do.
please do.
I wouldn't have made that up, I read that.
I mean, please do.
Yeah, I'll go back and find
You
it.
know, I'll be honest with you, Keith,
On the
Channel 3 has,
interview.
Channel 3 has reported a lot, and I emailed them and said that I would have my attorney deal with them if they didn't retract it, because I didn't say it, and if the mayor made that comment, then they need to quote that, because that was not anything I said, so they did a retraction, so you can go look at it.
Okay. I didn't, I mean, I was just saying, I got that from what you
Yeah,
said
no.
in the article.
That's your interpretation,
No, I just read it.
that's not what I said.
So within April 6th meeting, what
We
about?
didn't meet,
They didn't meet, we didn't meet for
we
4 months.
didn't meet,
We ain't met since March.
March 16th.
I mean, some of us met, but others didn't.
And maybe forward,
You didn't meet then. If it
Yeah,
wasn't-
I met a couple people here.
If it wasn't for
Nobody,
you didn't meet.
else
You
yet.
had a meeting.
We,
Can't have a meeting.
Well, unless it's something else,
we
they
were
still have to
trying,
go in the minutes.
we were meeting, trying to do telephone conferences because of the COVID-19 emergency crisis.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to call in.
Yeah. And, we never could get Mr. Edwards. council manager, we never could get a call or anything, so nothing happened there either. So, but that's just how that went from May.
Okay, May seventh, same thing?
Yeah, all those, all the way down.
But no, I just wanna go through them so I can get
Those were not even meetings. They were not sent to the local journal. I got papers here, I got all the newspapers, just so loud. And you guys weren't putting that in there 24 hours before the time of the meeting.
Yes, we were.
You couldn't. You had one meeting on the sixth, and then you had one on the seventh. The sixth was a Wednesday, and the seventh was a Thursday. The paper only comes out on Tuesdays and Fridays, so you couldn't have. How did you put it in there, the paper? If you had a meeting on, you tried to have a meeting on Wednesday, it's May sixth. You came back and said, we're gonna have one Thursday, May seventh. The paper only comes out on Tuesdays and Fridays, so how could you put it in there?
We send it to our local journal. Now, they put it out as they feel necessary. We post it on social media, we put it on the website, we put it on the front door, we notify the council, and in many cases, I had yours hand delivered.
It's got to be posted in the paper.
We
Your
have,
official
we
journal.
have to send it to them 24
That's
hours
right,
in
you
advance.
can't
I
send it.
can't make them
Right.
print it.
I mean, you can't send it,
Do a paper,
hey,
no.
you can't send
It
it,
was because of the times. I
Right.
immediately turned around and sent them another one.
you're not listening, you can't send it on Wednesday or Thursday when they don't send papers
They're
out.
in the office, they just don't publish a paper.
Right.
Well,
So
if
then
it's not
that brings
published,
us down to one of those
If it's
agenda
not
items,
published,
where then they shouldn't be the,
they shouldn't be the journal.
Well,
They-
exactly, the
they can't
official
publish it.
journal.
I got it to them 24 hours in advance.
And then, but they
That's
can't
not-
publish it, so, they can't be the official journal. They don't have a paper every day.
Well, then I suggest when we have to adopt our official journal, that possibly we need to change.
Well, it's on this agenda, I guess,
It is on this agenda.
yeah. But I'm
Okay,
just
so,
saying,
so that's what I'm saying.
I'm saying these were not legal meetings because it was not printed in the official journal. So,
Okay,
Just have to notify them.
yeah.
so, and we notified them. Okay, so,
Now, you
so May the
you
7th.
notified them, but they didn't notify the public, because they couldn't.
Okay, so what about May the 11th?
Same time,
Okay.
not in the
What
journal.
about May 13th?
They all, none of them were in the
Actually,
journal.
it was on their website.
May 15th?
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually on their,
It was.
they did publish it.
It was.
It was what?
Yeah, it's published.
I got the papers here, you wanna
Yeah, it
look?
was on the electronic.
You wanna
It
look
was
on
on
the
the
electronic, but that's not the official journal, still
Yeah,
not
it
listening.
is, it's on the.
You're not listening to what I'm saying.
We're hearing what you're saying.
I've heard it
A lot of
several
people
times,
don't
I've heard
do-
you several times.
Most people don't do social media. And then, you never had a set up
And
here
in
for,
fact, the official journal.
even at
has
these
to be
meetings, you had
in-
no way that they could
specified
contact
that it
you
has to be
and
in-
talk to you before a vote was approved.
Yeah, I asked voter opinion, and I told them the number to call into and what phone to ask for, and we sat here and waited. It's on video.
Oh, that's on number 27, that's on the 27th you did that,
Before then, it wasn't.
yeah.
Okay, on May the 27th. Anybody have a problem with that one?
That's the one where the airport rank, right?
Yes, sir. Anybody have a problem with those minutes? I'm guessing not. June the 1st. Guessing not. June the 3rd. I'm guessing not. Okay,
They were not in their journal, okay.
okay, now we're going to, next on the
So let me
agenda.
ask you a question, are you aware how many times you can schedule a special meeting with the same agenda?
Yeah, can't do
Oh,
it
you,
in one,
you can't do it.
No,
You have to add different things to it, like we did,
but you did.
but we did.
No, you didn't, I don't need it.
Okay, well,
What?
I'm not here to argue, so, but we did.
I got them, so you didn't,
I'm
no,
glad
sir.
you have them.
Yeah,
Okay, so now that you
so
brought
these
that,
were meetings.
we changed the agenda.
Each time?
No,
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 no.
You
no,
can't,
you did not.
you can't have it on the agenda more than once, and you make changes. But does anybody have a problem with the last one, June the 3rd? Okay. So, now we're down to the elect the Mayor Pro Tem for the remainder of the year 2020. Do we wanna stay in rotation? What do we wanna do?
What, exactly, what's the rotation?
Hey, who said there was a rotation? Will you, let us know when that return?
I'm not staying, I'm going
In
back
the
past
charter,
50
it
years.
doesn't say that, it says that, the council on their first meeting after the election will elect the mayor pro tem.
Yes, sir.
That's
They
it.
said nothing else about rotation.
Right.
Yeah, there are.
And I made the motion to leave you as mayor pro tem, if you remember.
I
Because
voted
you
against,
were.
I voted against
I
myself.
know that, because you were already elected,
That's
and I interpreted that
I
charter
remember that.
as, we elect it when we come in, and it stays that way.
I
Now, I was
remember that.
told that tradition was in the past, they rotated, let everybody have a chance. So that's why I made the suggestion that you just remain that.
You did.
And then it was voted down, and then we put Mr. Taylor in there, and so if,
We
you
got
know,
a
if you've
rotation.
taken his place, I'd say let Mr. Edwards fill that spot, since Mr. Taylor was there.
You agree with that?
Yes, sir. I'm fine with that, since well, the council picked Mr. Taylor, and he's not with us any longer, you're in that seat, and you have experience, and I think a pretty level-headed, gentleman, so I'd say I'll have Mr. Edwards.
Does that work, does that work for,
Ms. Mark, what do you say?
So what are we gonna do, attorney, we gonna start rotating this, continue to rotate this, or we gonna go by the charter, or what?
The charter doesn't require rotation, that just seems to have been the
Right.
previous
It's a
council
kind of tradition.
interpretations or application, doesn't specify a term, it just says the minimum requirement is that when there's a new mayor elected, that the mayor pro tem has to be elected
Right.
as
Right.
well. So they, according to what y'all have said, have annually kind of played musical chairs with it.
Yeah, everybody.
But whether or not y'all wanna do that going forward, that's at y'all's prerogative. The only requirement is that if a new mayor is elected, then a new mayor pro tem has to also be elected concurrently.
Right.
It doesn't require they serve a 4-year term, 1-year term, that's kinda at y'all's leisure. So long as if a new mayor is seated, that at the next following meeting, y'all elect a new mayor pro tem, and so at that point, it's kind of at y'all's purview.
so does anybody have a problem with our interim city councilman being the Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
So, Mr. Bradford, are you okay with it?
Okay, so, good, let's move on. So, y'all get together, or,
Now, we
Y'all,
can't get
who is y'all?
y'all sitting down there, come up with who's gonna make the motion, is what I'm getting at, I don't care
I'll
who
sway
makes it.
y'all.
Okay, are you gonna
Yeah.
make it?
I mean, I
He was
can
part
make
of
that.
y'all this time.
I can make it happen.
That's southern talking.
Yeah, y'all,
It's not
I'm
a
already,
big deal.
I'm proud of that, I'll make the motion if that's what you'd like me
Okay,
to do. Yes,
good
sir.
deal.
I'm gonna excuse myself to the restroom,
Yes, sir.
so.
Please come back.
Yeah, that's the only way think I'm not walking out or leaving, or I'm going to the restroom.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
No, sir, they ain't drinking with
Uh,
us.
On the police new hire, those 2 officers that we've been trying to get hired for several months, they've gotten jobs elsewhere, they gave up on us. So we can take that off, I found that out this morning.
What about that?
They found employment elsewhere,
Good.
they were excellent candidates.
No.
They weren't? Next on the agenda is personnel for, fire department new hire. Chief, would you like to visit with us about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've sent everybody the email, several months ago, and Mr. Edwards, when you first went in.
Right.
And if there's any questions anybody could wanna ask me about them.
Just one.
Yes, sir.
Let the council know that Mr. Hughes has, who works in the department with him?
His father's assistant chief, yes, sir.
And will he report directly to him?
No, sir. Yeah.
We're gonna be in compliance with what's in that
Yes,
manual?
sir. It's well, I don't know what's in the manual, I'll tell you.
That's,
right now.
that's just,
No, ma'am,
Well,
if
if
he
you,
has to, if he would have to.
any fire department in this country, there's father, son, grandson. Me and my son worked together at the same fire station in Shreveport for 3 years, because I was a battalion chief and he's a firefighter. He does not report to me, I don't give him any orders or anything,
Now, who is the department head now? You,
I ain't department head, just.
How much longer you plan on being with us?
Oh,
When you retire, his father will be the new,
Now, his father's is signed up on the drop, he probably won't be here about another year.
okay, I just wanted that in the open.
Sure, yes, but that went, I couldn't tell you when it went to the Supreme Court about, the nepotism, it was filed years ago. But that's, in the fire service, there's a lot of fathers, grandfathers, brothers,
I know it.
brothers, sisters, I even work with brothers and sisters.
Uncles.
You know, and it's, but he will have a captain telling him what to do, the new man. He works under a captain.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is, Ms. Walker requested 2 condemnations on properties that we brought back up.
thank y'all. All right.
Appreciate it.
Read this property is burned.
Yes, sir.
This the property that burned, and the other one is the property, right down Adams Street with all the trees and everything. The roof has fallen in, it's starting to fall in.
Right there across from the white.
Yeah.
Ms. Walker, is that the one next to the daycare with the huge clear tree in the back of it?
No.
That's not, that's the next one. So we've had a curator report in the past on this property, so are we gonna move forward on that to condemn that? Okay. Okay. What about the next one?
The next property,
Yes, ma'am.
both of them,
Okay, so we're gonna go forward on both of them?
I think we should.
Okay. Do you have any questions to, Mr. Youngkin about it?
It burned
Yeah.
last year.
Right, I know.
Now, it looks worse than that now. Cause the tree fell, the tree that burned.
Oh, wait,
it
that-
fell.
That other property.
Yeah, it's burned up pretty bad.
Is that property Mr. Holiday?
Yes, it's a Shropshire, Mr. Holloway is on the tax roll, and then it went to tax sale. And Mr., Shropshire Land Corporation paid the taxes on it. And I think since then, Mr. Shropshire has failed to pay the taxes on it. And, so the Webster Parish Police Jury have it since
Oh, yeah,
2018.
this is, I thought you were asking me about the one on Avenue Street, yeah, this is the one that's next to, that's not, it used to be a daycare, but it's no longer a daycare.
But it's there's nice houses sitting around that corner, it needs to come down. David Holliday, Mr. David Holliday Senior.
So when are we gonna auction off some of this property?
Well, with the police jury, we can't auction it off. The police jury won't do anything. They leave it up to us to cut grass and everything, we're just kinda stuck.
That's what I'm saying. When
I know, we can't auction it off, that's what I'm saying. It's up to the police jury.
I think they have.
Am I correct on that?
I mean, on some property, but we got some property around town that needs to be auctioned
Yeah,
off.
we've got one on Horton Street that didn't need to be sold
Oh,
for
yeah.
ever.
Nobody gonna buy this little here.
Never know.
Give a good enough price. When do you know when we're gonna have an auction for, who determined that, Mr. Fleur?
Well, there's a lot of paperwork that the city attorney would need to do. I can give him the current list and go over the files with him and see what he thinks we might can move forward with.
What do we have to have this property, 3 years, 5 years, what?
Right.
5. So you can give them a list of all the property that's over 5 years old that the city is still maintaining by mowing.
I can copy the whole files to you.
I think we should move forward with that. I mean,
Sounds like.
Let it be someone else's problem.
yeah, they could be health problems somehow. Would you do that for me, Miss Wanda?
Pardon?
Would you do that for me?
Yes,
please?
yes, I sure will.
Find out what property, let me have a
Yeah.
list, I'd like a list of what property we
Okay,
are 5 years old.
I'll put it in your box.
Thank
I'll put
you.
it in everybody's box.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay, move on.
Okay, the next one is appointment to the Mendon Main Street Downtown Development District. We're going to pull, Mr. Swarper, he called the Main Street Director and asked us to take his name off of there. He's been on there several times. And then, the next one is the appointment of Mr. Sean Hatcher, who's a resident of District D, to replace Lindsay McLaren, whose term expired September 8th, 2019. And she has resigned. Are you good with that? Is everybody good with that?
I can hear you, Wanda.
Is everybody good with that?
Yep.
Okay, the next is approval for lot split. This is a piece of property, I'm sure y'all are all familiar with, on Homer Road.
That's where Mike Taylor building
Ye-
the doctor.
yes, sir, yes, sir.
What?
Where Mike Cohen is building, and
Yeah.
Zach Goodman and two, Dr. Earnhardt and Dr. Lee. They're building the front office space that you see almost complete is a pharmacy, and Mendon Medical Center has released a spot there. The next one that you see as you drive by there now, it has a tremendous amount of plumbing sticking up on it. That's the dentist office. The doctor's office suite has not been formed up yet. For financial reasons and loan purposes and things like that, they've asked us to. I'm just used to really getting into detail. Anybody have a problem with that? Okay. The, next deal is the announcement for public meeting for the Downtown Development Tax District. This is where we've got to get ready to do the, renewal for downtown. That generates just for the downtown historic district in Ms. Walker's, area, that generates an extra $16,000 for revenue. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The next one is, the council needs to, select the official journal. And there's several you could use, one of them being the Mendon Press Herald. The next one is the, Spring Hill something or another.
They do a paper every day, Spring?
No.
No.
And the next one is the Shreveport Times.
The Times does one every day, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. And, you know, there's a few people that still read the
Let me
Times.
just ask this question.
Okay.
Are we required by law to have an official journal?
Yeah.
Mhm. But it doesn't, we're required by law to have an official journal, yes. But it doesn't say when they have to publish everything, or,
But the only thing about it,
I mean,
they give 24-hour written notice. How do we get around that?
Don't.
You don't.
That's a requirement I have to follow, is to give them
I can't hear you, the one now?
That's a requirement that I have to follow to give them
It
24 hour
says-
notice.
and when they
Get
do
on
it,
the
they,
bulletin board and if you have a social media page, to get it on there also.
but they do post it on their electronic page.
Okay, but when you
But
say,
when you have people that don't have access to that.
It says here,
How many people get to Shreveport Town?
attorney,
Not me.
How many people get to?
We need to consider too how much the Shreveport Times charges to publish versus how much the Mendon Press Herald charges. I don't know what those comparisons are, but we do a lot of legal publishments.
You know, in Homer, the Homer paper's been once a week forever, and it was the official journal, you know, when I was on the council there, and the board.
they use theirs as the
Yes,
official
sir,
journal?
that was, you know, yes, sir. So I don't know how that works.
But
as far as-
they're.
We would notify them, but
We notify the official journal, It's posted on, how many places do you post it, Will?
Facebook and our city website.
Facebook and the city website, so that's 2, and then we post it out here in Brooklyn, that's 4.
What's
It
your-
doesn't matter to me, y'all just need to decide, and
What's your position on that?
Well, the law requires that you have an official journal, it has to be one that's circulated within that region. So you have the options. My personal opinion would be to keep it Minden Press Herald, just because I think that's probably the most circulated in Minden, and so it's gonna hit the most folks. Now, as to the print versus electronic, I can't answer that. I guarantee you there are opinions out there on it, because as we all know, the more we get into the electronic age, the less people read a hard copy paper. That's just the nature of it. So I know there would be opinions out there concerning it, but as far as the legal requirement is that we select an official journal and that it be something that's commonly circulated within the municipality of Minden. So I think that, I would probably bet that there are under 100 people that take the Spring Hill paper in Minden.
That's even that, right?
Yeah, so.
That's
Or the
probably
Shreveport,
stretching.
or the Shreveport Times, you
Yeah.
can't even buy a Shreveport, I mean, it's hard to find them.
Honestly, I didn't even know that Spring Hill still had a paper. So I think the Minden Press Herald, even though that they're at twice a week, I'm not sure if that's a permanent decision or a growing decision. Someone else might have more knowledge about that, because it used to be a daily paper. So I don't know, but I think it's still the most feasible, and that we should exercise all due diligence in determining what the legal requirement is, whether it be printed, or if making sure it's posted electronically is sufficient, or what have you, because you're never gonna be able to notify all the citizens of Minden unless we get some kind of big.
But can you find out and drop us a notice by mail?
Yes, yeah, we have to.
Find out what?
About that paper?
If there's a legal requirement that would be in print.
RS 4219, all public bodies except the legislative committees and subcommittees shall give written public notice of any regular, special, or rescheduled meeting no later than 24 hours, exclusive Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, so they can't do that.
Well, they
They
do
can't
electronically.
They can't do it, we don't need them.
Well, we would, like
They
at
can't
City
do
Hall,
it.
they would, publish it on the front door of the City Hall, like in print, cause it says in writing, right?
That law
And
is
so that's what we would do.
A journal or a printed copy. Now.
It didn't specify in writing in a paper.
And I
It said in
guarantee
writing.
there are opinions out there, and I'd be happy to find those. and
Please
provide
do.
those to the council.
Yeah.
Cause this problem is a little bit larger than the city of Minden,
Yeah,
cause if other cities got this same problem,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
they not even compliant either.
Yes,
Good
sir.
business.
And like I said, there are, I guarantee there are case laws and attorney general opinions concerning
Go with
it.
you, John.
But my recommendation would be keep it in Press Herald, because I think that's the most circulated in our town, though.
Okay, so we're down to adopt the ordinance 1110. And
The city no longer needs that property.
so,
The city no longer needs this property.
no, sir, what this is Beach Street over there off of Drake in that area there, and the street was never developed. It goes, it dead ends back into the aquatic club, so to speak. It affects the gentleman that's asking for us to abandon it. His driveway has been on this abandoned street since he purchased the house. So he would like to kinda have, own his driveway, so to speak.
Cause you're gonna split it between the property owner?
Yes, sir, the city, the park is on the other side, so the city will actually maintain that over there. As far as servitude, there's no utilities or anything like that we have to worry about. So half will go to him and half will go to, see that guy standing in front of me. Anyway, somebody else, right behind me there. So, and his property, we're never gonna put a road in a ditch. And it also tells him that, you can't build anything on it, this type of thing either. So, does anybody have an issue
Well,
with that?
that's kind of an issue that someone in my district is dealing with, some property like that, and I think you should have done a phone call about
Me?
Yeah,
When?
maybe last year sometime. About this property, saying,
Who?
last name Miller, maybe?
What was the property?
David Peterson said he owned the property, but when they purchased the property, and they have their deed, they have everything, but somehow it was sold to David Peterson.
I can answer that.
Okay.
So, assuming I'm understanding, so the owner says, I own this via the deed that I got when I purchased. David Peterson says, no, I own it, is that correct?
Yeah.
So generally, legally speaking, you have what's called acquisitive prescription. And that says that if you look like you own the land, say there's a building on it or whatever, but you actually don't own the land, either after 10 years or 30 years, depending if you have what's called just title, meaning a deed, then you own it. You know, it's just, I've used it, basically like a squatter's rights. I've used it for so long, so it becomes yours. Here, you cannot, under Louisiana law, you cannot acquisitively prescribe from the state. So even if the guy had his house on this property since 1840, as long as Minden was a municipality in 1840, he cannot grant that right. Whereas if it was not owned by Minden but a private citizen, he would have gotten ownership of it years ago. So the issue with the individual in your district is that it's not with Minden, but it's with a private citizen, so they would need to go to district court.
Are you familiar with the situation?
Not with that specific
Okay,
situation.
yeah,
no.
okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that if, when you said David Peterson, I said, well, that's the problem, is that it's not with the municipality, it's not with the state, so they need to
No,
go to
it's gonna be
district
with the city of Minden, because what it's saying now is that that property is the city of Minden, but when they purchased it, I don't know if it wasn't a street there
court.
or
Okay,
something.
then I misunderstood.
Was it an alleyway or?
No, it's right there behind Wool Shop. Wool Shop, is that Avenue Street, Gum Street, what street is?
It goes across that.
Yeah.
Is that East
So that's
Street?
it. It's not East Street.
No.
So it's over there,
Back up at Forest Chapel.
right over there by Avon. Yeah.
I don't remember that phone call, I'm not saying I
Yeah.
didn't get it, but if he will, go down to, Tracy Franklin and Brent Cooley, they can research that out and see what happened, because it'll all be, recorded everywhere.
Because I've already researched one right there beside me for a neighbor. There's an alleyway through the people
Yeah.
use it, come through, and he uses part of it as a driveway. And it's about 4 or
That's
5
what the
people
yellow
that
house
who
is,
know
isn't it?
that.
Mhm.
There's a trail over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I took it down. and ran
I'm
that
sorry, Ms.
in.
Williams Worker, I misunderstood the situation, I thought you were saying that David Peters owned it.
Okay, but that's a scenario with Beach Street, does anybody have a problem with that? Okay, we're going down to the accepting the, dedication of the water main. This is out on Germantown Road where, John Madden was developing some property out here. He extended, 25 feet of, water line, 6-inch water line, plus he added a fire plug to it, and he did it to, specifications and everything of the city. So he is, we're accepting that donation.
But this had to come in front of the council, right?
No, sir, it's going there.
I mean, you got it on the agenda, so we have to vote on it.
Sure, that's why it's here.
This is this is something you donated,
Yes, sir.
and at the same time, the sign was donated, and the council didn't have to look at that, okay.
This is a water line.
That's
This
fine,
is-
I'm not
this
just
is
still a
city
donation,
utilities.
fine, leave it on, go ahead, go ahead.
Let's leave it alone.
I'm just looking.
But anyway,
The
does
difference
anybody,
in between, I'm looking at.
does anybody have a problem with, accepting the 6-inch water
Same
line?
thing, but you don't do it, okay.
Okay, so we're going ahead.
Mr. Madden's correct.
Let's see. Okay, we're on the, Stephen, you're up. We need to talk about the adopted resolution and the grant for the, rehabilitate the runway, mill overlay, and reconstruction of runway lighting.
It's a 100% FAA grant for $1.1 million, just to accept, or to ratify that grant to allow us to rehabilitate the runway and runway lighting.
Does anybody have any
This
questions?
is a 100% grant.
100%, yes, sir.
Okay.
Moving forward. We're down here to adopt the resolution to reappoint to the Board of Commissioners for the Sparta Groundwater Conservation District, to reappoint Mr. Rick Buckner, the department head down there for, back under Sparta Groundwater. Anybody have a problem with reappointing him to that?
But let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Since COVID-19, have we had any additional restrictions, precautions at our water system that we need to look at?
No, sir, not that I know of. I know, you know, we're still doing our testing and everything, and when we have a ground break in the water and we have, different people working the water line, we always do a boil advisory, and we send that in to have it tested before we, you know, take everybody so they don't have to do that. Okay, our next deal here is LIPA. We're still a member of LIPA, electrical, that we used to buy from years ago. And so this is to adopt a resolution appointing Terry Gardner as the director and Gary Moreland as an alternate director. That's kind of how that is. You know, one day we might be busy with LIPA again and get some killer utility rates. When I say killer, I mean, you know, good utility rates. Does anybody have a problem with that? No comment. We need to adopt a resolution, when Mr. Fleur retired as the full-time position, city clerk, we needed to get a third signature, and it would be just easy for, Councilman Edwards to take on that responsibility as Mayor Pro Tem. Does anybody have a problem with that? Councilman Bradford, any comment? None? Okay.
Takes two signatures,
Yes, sir.
and you're gonna have Ms. Conley as the,
Yes, sir.
and that's fine.
Okay. Okay. We'll hold off a second. Okay,
Yes, sir, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you back.
Stephen, you're up next for the,
So you just not gonna ask me if I had a problem with it?
I'm sorry, do you have a problem with it?
I mean,
I didn't ask, do you have a problem with it? No, do you?
so you want a council person with signatory power?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't think,
The Mayor Pro Tem. And that way, if I'm out for medical reasons and can't sign a check, Ms. Connolly and Councilman Edwards can sign a check.
But I thought that responsibility always goes with the mayor pro tem if you are disabled.
Well, we really, I honestly don't know, because we've never been in
No,
this
you have
situation
to have
before.
authorized
I mean,
signatory power.
you-
You could
Yeah.
step in as mayor pro tem, but you still couldn't
You
sign
see,
anything.
that was the right, oh, gotcha.
Sign checks.
Yeah.
well, why didn't we do that?
It's usually the city clerk is the problem. You don't
Yeah.
have
I
one.
think the only time you would do it is if you're in that position. I mean, he's
Well,
not gonna sign
well,
checks just.
generally, it's the mayor, the city clerk,
Right.
and the assistant city
Right.
clerk.
Well, we need to get a city clerk anyway.
We have a acting city clerk, so it should fall with the mayor pro tem. I think, you know,
I was just wondering, because when Mr. Bradford was mayor pro tem, he didn't have signatory power.
no, he didn't, because we had a city clerk,
And when we get a city clerk, it'll change back to
Yeah.
the city clerk.
yeah.
Now, so you only need two signatures, so
Yes.
Mr. Edwards won't be called on as long as you and Martha Conley are.
Yes, sir, as long as I'm sucking in air.
That's fine.
Okay. Is that fine with you?
Yeah, that's fine, it's only an emergency, yeah.
Okay. Rehabilitate runway for the airport improvements.
So that's to award the bids, I'm assuming on her agenda, but
Would you like to look at it?
it's to award the bid for that
Here, no, go ahead
project.
and take this one too.
To-
Okay.
They take that one too.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is to award the bid, for the runway rehabilitation project. And that's $1.73 million worth of that $2.1 million that we just talked about a few minutes ago.
Is everybody okay with that?
We had only had one vendor.
No, sir, we had,
Two.
was it two?
It was two.
Okay, yeah, we had two, responsive bidders on that one.
Councilman Edwards, the other bidder was out of Alexandria.
Regional
Yes, sir, and I
construction.
cannot remember their name off the top of my head.
I think it was regional.
But it, and it,
Well, wait,
and the bid
Regional.
actually came in under budget. So that was good.
Are you talking about rehabilitating the runway?
Wait,
Correct.
You're right.
There's three of them.
it's three bids.
Yeah, there's three. I was
There's three,
thinking
okay,
about
that's
road
what it was.
overlay.
Okay.
So we accepting the bid of Benton Brown.
Yes. sir.
Lowest responsive bidder, yes, sir.
It's great, it's local.
Are there any questions there?
No, I don't.
Okay. Ms. Walker?
No.
Mr. Bradford? Mr. Booth? Okay. We're on the, Mr. Combs, would you, talk about the three overlays in A, B, and C, please, sir?
The three overlay that are being done is on, Spencer Road, from East Union to Homer Road, Pine Street from, Gleason to Goodwill, and then Horton Street from, Shreveport Road to Middle Landing. Benton Brown was the only one that bid on it, for $542,700. I think I had it at $635, so it'll be the one that's going.
They're gonna do it in the foundation work.
I'm gonna do that, yeah, I think the only one that really I gotta do work on is on Horton Street. I got some areas in there that are pretty bad, so I'm gonna go in there and patch
Cut 'em
it.
out.
Yeah. I normally, whenever we get on our overlays, any foundation work or whatever, if I'm able to do it, I normally do it myself. So like I said, I'll go in and patch or whatever, fix and repair it, and they'll come in and do it.
Okay. Anybody, any questions?
I'd just like to say, I don't feel sorry about it, cause it's hot, so I don't envy you having to go out there and patch anything.
Okay, moving along, the, next are just, three police reports. Are there any questions about those?
I don't, but that's just numbers.
Yeah, it's just numbers. Okay. So we've been through that. There are a couple of things. Have y'all all gone through the, budget? Have y'all read the budget and we're pulling $2 million? Council people, thank you. I've got some ideas. Do y'all mind taking a few minutes to listen to them?
Mayor, you got a hand.
Mahela wanted to speak about the Main Street portion.
Okay.
She's here now.
Okay.
Mahela.
Well, okay. Yes, ma'am?
Main Street,
Okay.
where we are?
Yeah, we passed that.
Oh, you passed that, a little bit more?
We have, but go ahead and.
But yeah, we already talked about it.
Oh, y'all already
She just
talked
said
about
over
it, do y'all
here.
need anything from me then?
No, I think we're good. He said Sean with Patrick was willing to do that.
Mhm.
He's in my district, which would be a good representative for my district.
Did you not talk about that?
I don't think he,
Okay.
unless they have some questions.
No, no,
I'm gonna step down.
Okay,
We'll
all
talk
right.
about it.
Thank
Sorry,
y'all.
we
So
were-
let me ask you something, when I looked at the sheet, I saw vacancies. I saw several vacancies, so
Yes,
those,
ma'am.
all of those need to be filled, correct, that
We
expired.
got two more that need to be filled, yes, ma'am.
Ms. Walker, would you still give me,
What two districts are they on?
B is the only district we don't have anyone in at all. And, we need someone from B, and there's 7 members.
That's where I thought seven. but
7,
I saw
so
two other
we'll
ones
always
there.
have somebody, you know, more than one person from a district.
Ms. Walker, several months ago, you said you had the names of several people that were interested.
Yeah.
Would you give me those so Ms. Veto could?
Yeah,
visit with
I
them, please?
reached out to him again, and even the one that you sent me, she was one that I reached out to initially, and she wasn't interested.
She wasn't interested?
No,
Okay.
she wasn't interested.
All right, well, we'll just have to put our heads together
Yeah.
and see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
All right, that'll be, I'll
We-
try.
Yeah, she was one of the ones that I reached out to, first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was hoping she would, cause I think she would've made a good
Yeah,
use.
she doesn't want to, she's
I
not interested.
understand being retired and not wanting to do it.
Yeah, and that's the case with a lot of them,
Yeah.
just like, you know, I have to commit, so, no, we'll see.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm sorry, we didn't talk about Stevens lighting down here, 2-20.
So that's the other part of that $2.1 million is to rehab the runway lighting while that runway rehab is going on. That is also, needs to be awarded to the lowest responsive bidder, which was Will Heights Electric out of Bossier City.
And if I'm correct, that is changing all that over to LED, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay.
And how much was that bid for?
The $121,000 and some change.
So once you finish doing the airport and the lighting, the rehabilitation of the runway and the lighting, you still have money left, correct?
Say again?
You should have some money left?
No.
No?
No, the grant is for $2,096,000 and some change.
I thought you said 2.1 million, and you said the runway rehabilitation was 1.7 million,
Correct.
and then the lighting is 121,000,
Correct.
and you're not gonna have anything left?
I don't know the math on that one. Even if we do have any left, we can't spend on anything else. The grant, basically the grant reimburses the city for up to $2,096,770 something of any money that we spend on these two projects. So whatever we spend, we will get 100% reimbursed for through this grant.
If y'all wanna put a nice mural out there or something, you got $200,000 to do with it, sounds like.
Unfortunately, we couldn't do that.
Anyway, if y'all would give me a few minutes, if you don't mind, I've got some ideas how to create a little cash flow within the city. And one of them I'm gonna bring back up again, let y'all pass this
Okay,
back.
so when are we gonna talk about this employee manual, finish that?
Well, we can talk about it when I get through, if you don't
I'm
mind.
saying, we need to set up a meeting so we can go ahead and finalize the employee manual.
Can I finish? Okay, good. Okay. This is, what you're looking at here, this is security lights that we have, that people have that I brought up several, probably a year ago. And it costs the city $11 to have that security light up there. And what you're looking at here is the people that have security lights in town. And it shows where they pay $6 and $4. So what we're doing is all the taxpayers are paying to help pay for these security lights. So my thing is I would like to go up on the security light to $17 where we can cover our costs.
How much does the light cost us to operate?
$11. $11.
So did I give you $11?
No, sir. They're billed, if you go over here, look all the way over to the right, which says rate code, on the, next to the last column, which says rate code, that last number, that's 6, or that's 4, that's what they're presently paying.
And what is the 6 and what is the 4?
$6.
This is $6 and $4.
How do we learn with two figures for 6 and 400?
Just over the years,
Over the
in the
years,
past, they charge 6 here, and they charge, 4 here, the $4 have probably been there since, for
Yeah, we
nineteen
discussed
sixty.
this last
I thought
year.
we discussed that.
We did, and it got rejected.
We did, and
It was rejected.
you asked for a copy of everything, and I gave it to you, and then,
Then we voted it down.
we
So we talked to Gary about raising it to $11.
Actually, the total is $11.70. And that would put where all the taxpayers wouldn't have the burden of helping these people pay their bill, and, we've gotta find ways to generate a little revenue, or at least break even.
Tell me something, if we send these people a letter saying we're gonna increase it, how many do you think they turn it on?
I have no idea, if you go through here and look at them, a lot of them are, commercial, churches, shopping centers, apartment complexes, educational places, nursing homes, high schools, but, it's just not isolated to one part of the city, it's all over the city. So, and we've got letters here to send them.
What is the letter say, Matilda?
It's just giving them the different rates, and, there's also, different private sectors, like I have one, the big square lights, they cost a lot more. They light up parking lots and things like that. But I would like to put this on the agenda with the council approval.
Now, Energy charged me $11 a month for my life.
You know what they charge? Is that what they charge?
11.
This was something that, Mr. Moreland and, Mr. Evans worked on, came up with the rates, and,
So you wanna charge them $17 a month?
yes, sir.
And what did it cost us for this, the light?
Right now, it costs us, $11 to have that light hanging out, it's costing us 11,
And we paying 4 and 6.
and the customer's paying 6 and 4, yes, sir.
Okay, so we really have a savings if we get to $11 and break even there, wouldn't we?
If we could, but then, we can do whatever y'all wanna do. I'm just trying to get us in the black.
One thing is that we gonna suck the life out of our citizens. What we really need is some kind of industry here to generate money. And I understand what we're trying to do here, but I mean, we can only just take so much from the customer, and I do believe in breaking even. And the $11 break even, I really prefer $11.
Okay, so y'all wanna go to $11? I'm
If
good.
that's what it costs to operate this light.
It costs the city right now,
Well, most of them are businesses, aren't they?
11, a lot of them, yes, sir, a lot of
Is it
them.
over 11? Is it a little over 11? Cause it was just making $12, and if it's over 11, I thought you said it was over 11.
It cost us today $11.
Just 11.
No.
11 even?
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, well,
I thought you said like 11:32 or something.
But like I said, energy charge, I think one was at 14.
yeah. Cleveland Electric too charges more than that, it's like 16, I think, but that's good, because I mean, that's crazy.
Well, I mean-
We're giving some,
I mean, what, you know, maybe 12, give us just at least, let us make $1.
That's what he was doing with it, with the
Yeah.
11.50, 11.72, that's what he said.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if it was more than 11, if it was just rounded up to 12, but 11, if it's 11, that's fine, at least we're not gonna be losing money on all
Are they
these
mostly
lights.
businesses or individuals?
No, there's some individuals, but, you know, I'm just going, you know, and I don't know all these people, but I look at all the, you know, I'm looking at, you know,
Nancy, apartments.
church, mechanics, post office, some kind of clinic,
That's what I'm saying, a lot of businesses,
you know, a lot of businesses, you know.
and that makes sense, that mini storage and all those kind of businesses are gonna have security lights at their locations.
Well,
I'm thinking about putting
yeah.
one at mine, since we had another break-in the other night,
Yeah.
you know, my neighbor, it's so dark right there, because of the way the lights are spread. I know this every other pole, but if you have an intersection, you get one at the intersection, and then you can forget 2 more poles, you know what I'm saying? So it is dark, but I mean, for $11 a month, I wouldn't mind paying that for security at my house. Yeah.
Just to break even.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Instead of losing money, it's 4 and 6 is antiquated. $4 for a security light? That is antiquated. That is years ago.
Do we have any lights on private property that we're not getting paid for?
Not that I'm aware of.
Have Mo to check that.
Okay, I'm pretty sure they have, I mean,
Well, I'll give you an example. I had that gentleman from the Methodist Church ask me about city coming and replacing that light. And then I checked with Mo, and he said, oh, the church pays for that light. So it, you know, for
Yeah.
example, it was, because the light was turned, I think the light faces the street, but it's on the property of the church. So I assume, since it's right on the edge of the sidewalk, so I thought it was one of ours, because it's pointed toward the street. Usually if it's private, it would be facing toward the church. So anyway, I asked Mo, and he said it was the churches, so they did pay for it, but he can find out. Yeah.
Let me ask something. Okay, a business might have 4 or 5 of these lights.
right, correct.
An individual might have 1, so the individual gonna have to pay the same thing that a business would.
Yes, sir.
Per
I
light.
don't agree with that.
Same thing, who pay
Maybe
$1?
businesses should pay according to how many lights
It
they
is
got.
per light.
It's per light, this is per light.
It's just
Yeah,
per
so if
light.
they
Oh,
have a
this is
business,
per light,
that's-
okay.
a business has 4 lights, they're gonna pay for 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that, okay.
No, yeah, it's like,
So this
I
over
can tell you
here,
right now, Lamplighter has 5 or 6 that run right down their property, and, you know,
that's what I'm saying, and it's listed 3 times, it's got 3
Yeah,
different
yeah.
accounts.
Okay.
There are 3 different separate ones.
yeah, they don't get
Yeah,
involved
so
with this.
some of the businesses are listed 3 or 4 times, like mini storage is listed twice, that means it has 2 out there.
So would it be okay with y'all if I put this on the agenda for $12?
I'm not opposed to it, because we can break even at least.
So, yeah, Liz, I mean.
Yeah, I hate to lose money on those every month.
Okay, the next little deal I have is we've got a
Hey,
company.
can we put this in the newspaper before, and let everybody know? We plan on doing it?
It'll be put on people's bills, I think, is what the original plan was, I think.
Yeah, but they need to know before they.
Well, I
It'll be
mean,
set at the
yeah.
bottom, when they get their paper.
We'll make them aware, we just won't
Yeah.
say surprise.
Right.
You know, we'll give them a 30-day notice.
So it would be effective when?
Well, if y'all approve it, the next city council meeting, and then we'll enforce it the following month.
So you're talking September 1st.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, the next
That's not
thing,
30 days.
Huh?
That's not 30 days.
What's your what?
That's not, September 1st is not 30 days.
No. Yeah.
when does it,
October 1st,
huh,
when we do October?
that's fine. And this was getting it done.
Well, it also has to do with what the ordinance reads when it becomes effective. It might be 30 days after published,
Okay.
so I don't know. I have to see what the ordinance reads.
the next thing I have here is
That's hold up, and that's the application template that you wanna use?
that's when somebody comes in, when they come in now to get a security light put up, a new
Okay.
security light,
So
that'll be.
you have that available for us, at the
Keep that.
council meeting, so we can look at it, make sure there are no mistakes, any corrections that need to be made?
Sure.
So we'll
Yeah.
have that agreement. here.
Absolutely. It'll be, do you have, we don't have time to get that in the
Read,
packet.
that's what you want?
Yeah, that's what I was asking about,
Oh.
right here.
Yeah.
You know, just make sure we have a copy of this to look at before.
The agenda goes out Thursday,
Today's,
Tuesday.
okay, so, I'm gonna need you and Jeff to tweak this out for me, Will.
To push it on social media?
No, the contract that you and him came up with,
Okay, well,
you and,
okay.
so I'll get it to you after this meeting, so Wanda will need it to put in the packet
Okay.
by Thursday, no later than Thursday.
So Wanda, this, the agenda goes out Thursday. A copy will be sent to Mental Person Health,
Always is,
and they will not have it in private, but
they probably don't.
that's.
I mean, even when they were 7 days a week, they didn't.
That's my concern, yeah.
I have to send it to them.
I know, because
all,
they-
but
they
don't
might have-
to publish it.
They'll print the paper on Thursday for Friday, yeah.
Yeah, what's bad about it now is like people die and have funerals during the week and no
Yeah,
picture, and
yeah.
come out Friday and I find out the funeral was Wednesday or Tuesday, cause it's not daily now.
I do see it on their, social media page.
Yeah,
But
I don't-
as
I
far
don't-
as
I'm not on
print, they
Facebook.
hardly.
But see, I got on Facebook, I off Facebook 2 months ago, so I don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
So these costs associated with this light, the light fixture, $100, this is not for us?
No, that's for you to know what the customer's gonna pay, like, let's say I want a security light, in my backyard.
So where did these prices come from? Is this because this came from negative, so where did,
Mr. Moreland and Mr. Ellenwood researched everything. That's just for you to look at, that's not the final draft.
yeah, I'm just saying, I wanna know about these costs, because when I see light fixture, $100, photo cell, 16, light bulb, $9, I just wanna make sure these costs are accurate, and is this what people will be charged?
Well, that was, I can't remember exactly when we talked about it previously, but I'll get with Mr.
We
Moreland.
didn't talk about this, I know we didn't talk about this, basically the only thing we talked about was an $11 fee across the board, because you had some people paying 6, some people paying
Yeah.
4, and I even thought it was some people paying $8. But I don't see $8 on here, but I thought it was some people paying $8 also. But we only talked about an $11 fee across the board, we didn't talk about mounting brackets, light bulbs, we didn't talk about any of this.
Well, I will get that will be in your packet for your review.
Did y'all look at this right here, the price?
What is it now?
No, we didn't break it down in.
No, we did, it's $150,
Right now?
if you have to get a pole.
Right.
And if you already have a pole, I think it's either $100,
$100.
Yeah,
$100, if a pole is
Just the,
already there.
just the picture and the photo set, but there's
cheap.
always been a charge for the initial setup, but
And
this
no,
is,
that's the charge, it's $100 if a pole
Yeah.
is there,
yes,
and $150 if they need a pole.
if they, yeah, and that'll take us and forever to recoup that, just about.
I mean, that's fine, but if that's the breakdown,
That's
I
the
wanna
breakdown.
know.
That's what I'm telling you, that's the breakdown. Okay,
Sorry for the attire, it was my exercise time,
I called him in. Mr. Ellenwood has a company that's been in contact with him that wants to pay us $1,500 a year for us to do nothing. So
They put a little beacon on top of our antenna, on top of the building. And this beacon broadcasts a signal. So when they're doing GPS locations, they can triangulate off of us. They put them all over the place, it's not just here. I mean, they've got them in Houghton, they've got them in Bossier and Minden, and Shreveport, and they're everywhere. And they picked our site, because we have the antenna already, that they can just mount on. It costs what, $5 a year in electricity? for us, we do have to supply power to it, but it just sits up there and sends out a signal. And they have their little unit for surveying, property and land and all that, and that's all it is to it. It makes us $1,500 a year. He's been calling since March. March to get this done. He has not replaced us yet. He has not found a better place to put it yet in Minden. So, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for us if you guys want it.
So it's just there to send a signal.
It's just there and sends a signal. It doesn't tie into us in any way except for it's like 12 volts of power that it runs off of. And it sits there and sends out a beacon that they use, you know, like these bulldozers, you see them on the side of the road, you know, with the little thing on top. It uses that for elevations, and it uses it for locating things in the ground instead of using the satellites. And they're putting these up across the nation.
I think we're a little bit behind on that, because when we go into LMA, they talked about that in a lot of different locations, where they got that in strong.
I didn't contact these people. They called me
I
and said,
understand.
hey, we just lost
I'm
nine.
saying, they everywhere.
They were in Sibley, he told me, on a building, and they just tore the building down, and they wanted to replace the beacon. He saw our antenna and asked if they could use it, and I said, well, it has to go before the council, so give us some
I'm
time.
not opposed to it, cause that's just the way for the future, we going that way.
And plus they pay us, right?
And they're paying us.
Yeah, $1,500 a year.
I mean, it's not
It's
gonna
not
save all our
tough,
money problems, but I mean, $1,500 is $1,500.
Better than that.
You know, and for $5 a year in electricity, it's a fair trade. They're gonna come and do everything. We don't do any of it. Obviously, we'll have to put a power outlet up there, so Gary Moreland can do that.
And they do all the maintenance.
And they do all the maintenance, they do everything. We don't touch it. They don't want us touching it. They wanna plug it in and be done with it. So, is that it? Does everybody understand?
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Sorry for the.
Did you wanna ask
Going
about
to
the
change
lights?
it.
Are we good?
When do you have to let them know? Pardon me? When do you have to let them know?
He's emailed me about every week, and I told him that you guys would probably take it to the council meeting, this next coming council meeting, so I'd probably have him an answer after the council meeting, if that's right. I'm just waiting it here because, he just keeps emailing me and I keep saying, not yet, but we're doing it, we're working on it.
What about the light? You wanna talk to him about the light?
Security lights?
Security lights?
We covered that.
I
Oh, well,
just-
I need, by Wednesday, the application with the charges on it and everything, I need to make sure all that's accurate. And I need it put together and put Minden on there and the word inaccuracy and all that out, so we can put it in their packet for Thursday, so they'll have
I
time
will
to
get
do
with
it.
Kathy, I'll take my copy and give it to Kathy, because there's several going around.
Are these prices accurate?
Those prices were given to me by the warehouse, what he's paying for the items, and Gary Moreland, the auxiliary stuff that he has to have.
Those are actual costs, what those items cost?
When it says, there might be a couple bucks in there, if it was $95, I didn't put 95, I would raise it to 100, because the price is gonna do this.
Okay.
Especially with COVID going on, the prices
No,
will be all
that's
over
not,
the place.
that's not this. This is the total monthly cost, because I see 100 LED, 101 watts, $11 a month.
Yes.
So then I see 175 MB, 220 watts.
You mean electricity usage?
$15
Yes.
monthly cost.
That's accurate.
Cause we hadn't talked about that, the only thing we talked about was $12, but when I look at this, that could even pay $58 a month.
That's the one that I talked about earlier when we were sitting here, that I said that I have out on my property, the big square one. That's that one. That's gonna be a higher price, like I light up my whole parking lot with that light, and I think I pay
There are
$50-$60 a month or something like that for it.
different size bulbs.
Okay.
We're trying to get away from what
So-
everybody else is trying to do, is go to LED. Okay, LED is not that much money, but right now, we're not there. We have hundreds of these things out there and they're not LED, and it's costing us that money right there. I calculated it out using a website for calculations, gave it to Gary Moreland, and he said, yes, that is right. So, yes, we're losing our shorts on
Okay.
security lights.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Done? Thank you.
This is something I'm not ready to put on the council agenda, but I wanna tell you what
I
I'm.
still have a question about this. So,
Okay.
what type of lights? We need to know what type of lights they have.
Okay, most of those lights that they have right now, Ms. Walker, are what they call a sodium light. As when Mr. Moreland, when that burns out, and Mr. Moreland goes out there, he will convert that to a LED. Now, will that cost the customer any more money? No. It'll make the city where we have less maintenance and less time going out there in the truck replacing a light bulb, it'll last for years and years and years and years. So, most of what you see now, and when you ride around and look, you'll notice the difference in the city now as far as the lights. You've probably noticed, Councilman. They're brighter. They're brighter. So as they burn out and they get the new LED fixture, the customer's gonna be ecstatic because they're gonna have so much more light ohms or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure, I get that, the difference in the lights, I get that, the LED and all of that. But when you look at some of these businesses, I'm just trying to make sure, just like you say, you have the 1,000 watts or the higher voltage, higher watts. I wanna make sure these people on here don't have, for instance, 500 watts and they're gonna pay $12, because on this paper, it says if they have 500 watts, they're paying $25. So what do these
This
people
right here, this right here is just security lights, like in a backyard. That's not the light I have. That's not the light, that's not those big lights. This is just security.
You're not listed on this.
Pardon me?
Are you listed here?
I've got one of my investment properties on there, Craig Farley, where he's paying like $6. He lives on the.
He got the small one.
Pardon?
You got the small one.
Yeah, sure. It's a house out where Peggy Staples used to live. I don't know if you remember her or not. But, that light post, every time I rent that house, whoever comes in, they start paying for that security light. But the only light I have is that big parking lot light out on a commercial.
So just for clarification, the only adjustment in pricing that this handles is for security lights, specifically that light, not adjustment across the board of all the other types of lights.
Yes.
Right.
Then it needs to be stated specifically like this in their application.
With the application, it's when they come in to get something new, like if Councilman Edwards comes in to get a security light put on a property he has, or I come in to get a commercial light, I would have to fill out an application and we would have it on file.
So when their light utility bills increase, and as you say, you send out a notice, okay, just wanna make sure.
Okay. The next thing I have that I'm not ready to put on the agenda, that I'm working on, is this photo speed enforcement program. This is to go in the school zones, for people that go flying through the school zones. And it doesn't cost us anything to put it in, the minimum ticket is $75. They mail it out to them, this company gets, I think, $40 of the 75.
Who's currently doing that?
Pardon?
No.
Well, we're not currently doing it, but other cities are.
Yeah, are you talking about a minute?
Yeah.
No, we're not currently doing it. But it,
Palmer just put it in.
did they? It's just
Yeah.
another revenue stream for the
Did they
city.
put it in for revenue?
Mhm.
I have a problem with doing security for revenue.
No, it's this security? Cause this is,
No.
they've put speed detector
This is
in,
speed.
in the school zones here, and then some other on North Main where people really speed down North Main.
Has it helped?
Well, they just started, and right now until they get those installed, they're doing handheld, and it prints out automatically a ticket and sends it to people.
Is that
And it'll be revenue for the city.
Yes, sir, it's just like out in Dallas.
I don't know if that's legal.
They just passed it, city council, I got a friend that's on their
Check into that.
and I read it in the paper.
It may not be legal.
I can't hear you, so what now?
It may not be legal.
Well,
They've had some cases where these people got your cameras on the, traffic lights, and they're in Supreme Court now, they say that's
Mr.
illegal for
Smart,
you to do that.
do you know any cities that have this speed and the?
With that, is that, corporation?
Yes, sir.
Ringgold is the closest one here.
Ringo just installed it and Homer
Homer
just
just
installed it?
did, and I'll talk to them, they just passed it and started it, about 2 weeks ago. Cause I know when I went, I made sure I went 30 miles an hour down North Main.
But this, we're not putting it like on the brick roads or anything,
Right.
we're just
Just
putting it
school
in school zones. We're just putting it in.
Especially down there at Richardson, they fly.
And we generate, and we don't have to generate anything, the company generates everything, they just send us a check to encourage people to.
People fly around the parking lots too.
And that means programmable for the school road?
Yes, yes. So, is it okay if me and Philip keep pursuing this?
Just check into it, get more information on it.
Yeah.
So, the ticket $75, they get $40.
No, the least amount of the tickets. Like I said, what I'm asking you now is, can I continue to move forward?
You set the ticket price of what you want.
But
Yeah.
how much will they receive off each
40%.
40%? See,
Right here,
You don't pay
Here.
anything.
the fine
We're
start
not
at
paying the
70.
contract.
that's not good. How much is it for it to be installed?
Nothing. Nothing. The fine starts at $75 plus the $25 processing fee. So they get $25 to process it, send the ticket out, blah, blah,
And
blah.
then they get 40%.
No. Just $25. I was incorrect, all of
How much they get, Philip?
40%.
40%. Okay, but, and is it a
I thought it was
$25
20 I thought it
processing
was-
fee?
Okay.
Also, is it a $25 processing fee also?
It's a $25 processing fee.
So they getting $25 plus 40%. They get more than us. That makes absolutely no sense.
But our officers aren't writing tickets.
So say how much we get right now?
Nothing?
If the officers would go over there, we would get something.
But we don't have any officers.
Well,
I mean,
we do, but they congregate in
approve
one
it.
place. Yeah. If they go and work it, then we
We
will.
can make a ton of money in front of my house, the speed limit's 15.
mm.
15.
That's.
Well, back to my
not
original
ideal.
question, can I proceed on this and get all the details together? I'm just throwing it out there for y'all to allow us to look at it. We hadn't even met with it yet, they just sent us the literature.
I've got heartburn and stuff like that.
So
And if
just
you
let
want,
me-
you gotta do a presentation in front of y'all, you can.
No, cause I mean, I deal with numbers. $25 fee, and then 40% of the ticket price, that means that they're going to actually get more than us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Half of
No,
it.
that's not good.
Well, what's good about it is, they have the investment, they maintain it, they process it, and we get our percentage, our money, and we didn't do anything for it. But if y'all, if.
I'm not ready for that.
Okay,
I don't know why the other
okay,
counties
so
don't
Philip,
say it.
we'll scrap this.
They're gonna write a ticket. The ticket has to be, go through our judiciary system somewhere.
So,
We only
Now, how you gonna pay, who gonna make them pay the ticket?
We only get $20 off of that every time someone is stopped, we get $20, because 40% of 75 is $30, okay? And plus the $25 fee, that's $55, on the $75 ticket, you only collect $20.
It's the same
So
thing
is
as
it,
going back to.
do we have $20 now?
Isn't it the same thing going back to the occupational license? We're paying somebody $100,000
I mean, we're gonna invest in something, we need to
us.
collect more than $20.
Nobody complained about that.
So you want me to keep looking into it or kill it?
Oh, for me, kill it.
Councilman Edwards?
For right now, kill it.
Okay.
You have to ask everyone, what he
Well,
wants, because
they're 3 against 2.
he had said, he didn't ask him.
Yeah, just
He
go.
still has, so I guess.
And,
Oh, man.
No.
Yeah, I'm through. It's over, sir.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. We finished.
You
with
don't
it.
tell me if he's still talking.
Please stop yelling at me. I've always.
If
tried
I
to
don't, what's
respect
gonna
you.
happen?
What?
Okay, I didn't think that was
You
gonna
know
happen.
what?
I didn't,
I know why you- I know why you hate me.
what?
I know why you
Whoa,
hate me.
what?
I know.
What, tell me what?
I know why you
Well,
hate
tell
me.
me what?
Because I'm white. That's why you hate me.
It's because you the cheerleader.
and this is what I deal with.
Wow.
First male cheerleader.
Wow. You still got that relevant? Good. What a joke you are.
Be careful what you say.
Joke.
You are.
Okay, now that we've had that, did everybody get their letter that I sent, to the school board about it? That's not.
Yeah,
okay.
I got it.
Is everybody?
what kind of response you get back from the school board?
I didn't get it.
I've not got
It's
it.
in there on your desk,
It's
I
on-
went and
it's on the
got
box.
my
I've
stuff
not got it.
before I came in to see it.
So, that's all I have.
You might wanna bring them up to date on that letter we got from the Louisiana Department of Health about returning to work.
Oh, yeah, the letter we got, today or yesterday.
I put it on your desk.
Yeah, it's all on our desk, but it talks about what's the right thing to do to bring people back to work.
After COVID,
You have to have a doctor's excuse and non-asymptomatic for 10 days. So, that's what the health
That's
care-
effective when?
July the 27th is the next day.
Yes, 20 days. So,
Ms. Williams Walker, did you have something you wanted to revisit after?
yeah, the handbook.
Yeah, let me give you all of this back.
And Ms. Walker, you had something you wanted to?
Yeah, so, couple of things actually. Let's see if we can- When are we going to revisit the handbook, employee manual?
Well, you heard our city attorney's recommendation, can we send it to somebody?
No?
Don't you think we need to do it legally?
Yeah, I think we need an HR person too, but that hasn't happened.
Well, we haven't got in our new budget to advertise for one yet.
Do we have a city attorney?
We do, we sit right here.
I thought that was an emergency situation.
Emergency?
That's what you said.
Yeah,
With emergency still on?
yeah, absolutely.
We're still
But it
in
says
the-
it only lasts 30 days.
You have to refile it every 30 days.
Oh, okay,
Down at the courthouse.
okay.
So
Yeah.
what was the emergency?
For the health of our city, the COVID,
You said we didn't have a city attorney, we had one.
we don't have a city attorney.
We had a city attorney when you sent that out.
No, he had retired.
No,
I
he
sent it out the
didn't.
day he retired.
Yeah, well, meanwhile,
You sent this out March 23rd.
Mr. Hickman, when we get back, will you make copies of when the city attorney retired and all that stuff from Ms. Walker, that way she won't have to search it on her phone?
No, I have it right here pulled up on the phone already. So you sent this on March 23rd. When was his retirement effective?
It's on your phone, I didn't
You,
bring that with me.
okay. Well, I tell you, this thing just a minute, I'll go to that too.
March 30.
March,
I mean.
Do you know his last name?
May, wasn't it?
Yeah.
May 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
How's the
You-
weather out there?
I'm looking to see if T-Body is waiting on me.
What would he waiting on?
I have no idea. Just in case I do have what he needs.
you said this will be effective June 1st.
What's he need?
Oh, we've been,
Go ahead and do what you're doing, man.
I
Okay,
just wanna know
so-
what he needed.
this
You
email,
don't get it.
this email was sent,
Hmm.
Yeah, one, you can raise your eyebrows at one.
okay, so,
Raise my eye, I was just,
You look at her when I said, you looked at her when I said it.
you're just
so-
gonna give him what he needs.
You're looking at him.
I'll look down here.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you what you need one day.
Don't threaten me.
That's not a threat. That's
What
a
is
fact.
it? It's a fact or a promise?
you sent this on May 27th.
You're gonna give me what I need.
The vote you need. Okay.
I'm gone. I'm hungry.
So, this was sent on May 27th. You said we was out a city attorney. When was-
Whatever his retirement letter, whatever he told me his retirement date was the date of his retirement, and we were without a city attorney, so.
No.
So the Attorney General's office told me to appoint somebody during the state of emergency, and that's what I did.
The Attorney General, okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
his date was effective May 31st, right? You sent this out on May 27th, so in fact, we had a city attorney then, and if I'm not mistaken,
I'm a fairly organized person, or try to be fairly organized.
I'm going by what, I'm looking at the date on the email.
Sure, so I was getting prepared to get us a city attorney, since we had a city attorney that was retiring, you know, and.
You do know we appoint the city attorney, right?
Under normal circumstances. I
We
think, but-
appoint the city attorney,
Under-
so the
under-
state of emergency, at the time you sent it out, we still had a city attorney. In fact, he rescinded his resignation, right?
Not to me, no.
He rescinded his resignation.
Not to me,
correct?
no.
Okay.
Not to me.
Okay,
He never walked in my office
Okay.
or my assistant's office and handed us the letter. No, he did not. Absolutely, 100% did not.
Okay. He rescinded his retirement.
I don't have anything to do with the retirement board, I don't know.
So
Has nothing to
you
do
were
with it.
unaware that he rescinded his resignation?
I never, listen to me
No,
again.
I know what you,
I
I know,
never-
he never put it in your hands, or he never put it in Wanda's hands.
Correct.
I'm asking you, were you aware that he rescinded his resignation for retirement?
I realized he canceled over there, but that didn't have anything to do with
Okay,
it.
so you were aware that he rescinded his resignation?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
But it had nothing to do with me.
so, but you said, yes, you were aware, so why did we get this emergency appointment?
Because we didn't have a city attorney.
We had one. May 27th, we had a city attorney.
I had his.
May 27th, we had a city attorney.
Are you done? Are you done?
Go ahead.
I can speak.
Yeah.
Okay. He gave me his resignation. What he did with rescinding over here with retirement, that's him. That's not anything to do with the city. He never gave me a letter in my hand, in my office, or Ms. Pittman's hand, that he was rescinding that. If he would have done that, just like when Mr. Fleur gave his letter of retirement, I also gave him a letter back saying, we canceled it. Mr. Unifield doesn't have anything. What I would like for you to do for me is write the Attorney General's office and give him your information, and he will give you a.
So what's your legal opinion on that?
On which part? On the whole situation?
Whole
or the
situation.
part? So, Mr. Minifield said, I'm retiring effective May 31st. May has 30 or 31 days. What last day of May? 31. So this is my retirement. I'm retiring May 31st. Mayor Gardner then said, okay, effective June 1st, I'm appointing Jimbo Yoakum as city attorney. So, to my understanding, Mr. Minifield then comes back and tells the Retirement Association, I believe was said, that I'm no longer taking my retirement. But never actually notified Mayor Gardner that he was rescinding his retirement status here. Just simply that he was not going to take his retirement payment from the retirement board. I think that's Mayor Gardner's assertion and my understanding. So.
He said he wasn't taking his payment, is that what he said? Did he say he was?
His retirement. Now,
Okay.
I'm not sure what he meant.
Okay, okay.
But as far as the legality of the proclamation, I mean, yes, ma'am, the legal footing is there, that was a proper appointment. Now, if I'm not doing a good job or y'all aren't satisfied.
It's just that we didn't appoint you.
I understand that, yes, ma'am.
Now, you do realize that this is an emergency appointment that you have?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is, are we still in the emergency?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what's the emergency?
The COVID-19, you're aware that we have,
Really? No, like, what's the emergency for the city of Minden?
for the
That
city of
warranted
Minden,
this proclamation right here?
COVID-19. You do read the stuff I give you, don't you? It's
I
in
just
there.
wanna make sure
Okay.
that I have a good understanding, because not only the city of Minden, but this is worldwide.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so, but the imminent emergency or disaster that we're in that warranted that proclamation is still my question. Even when I responded to you on the 27th and asked you, what's the emergency?
I could not sit here without a city attorney.
We
so-
had one.
Where's
Until-
the
until
humor,
the
Mr.
31st.
Bradford, I missed it.
What was what?
I missed the humor, who was that?
Cause we had a city attorney until the 31st. That's what she said. We had one.
He retired.
You didn't, that wasn't
He came
funny?
in place, so we had to have somebody, so the Attorney General's office and the LMA, Gallagher Law Firm, advised me how to appoint since the city council people never would show up. So that's what I did, and that's that. So write the Attorney General and get his opinion.
But you were gonna terminate Mr. Minifield anyway, huh?
No, he retired.
No, but I'm saying on these, agenda, you had terminate.
But see, that's.
Hold on, did you not have that on there?
Oh, yeah, that was on there.
You were gonna
But it-
terminate him
that's part of
until
our
you forced
changes.
him into retire.
Well, anyway, that's part of some of those changes that you didn't say happened.
Oh, I saw it, it's on 2 or 3 of them, I
Yeah.
bet you that.
Yeah. Well, I had to look, had those
I
hands.
bet you that, I got him.
So, I just need some clarity, so he's in place how long? Mr.
As long
Yocum
as
is in
we're in
place?
emergency.
No, he said 30 days, then you have to renew it again?
Yeah, we renew it every 30 days.
Well, we need to see it when you renew it.
Well, if you want copies of it, I'll make copies, Tiffany can make copies of it.
So we
But
should have at least 3 now, 2 copies.
Absolutely. Do you know how many we have out of hands? 3 or 4?
3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
You got him, can I see him now?
I think this is something that'll be hashed out before it.
Can I see him now, Wanda?
The proclamation?
I just want,
The copies where he's renewed him to continue to be the city
That's
attorney.
recorded at the clerk's office? Yeah, I'll put them on your desk, it'll take me a minute.
I just want to be clear that I hope that I haven't done anything to offend any of you. I'm just an attorney, was asked to do a job, and I hope that I'm doing it satisfactory to each of you.
This is, other than you standing up in council, this is my
This
first
is not
time
about
with
you.
Yeah. And it's not about you, it's about doing things the right way.
Right.
Well,
Doing the right thing the right way.
Well,
It's nothing personal
No, it's
against
nothing
you.
if you remember correctly, Ms. Walker, he was on the agenda with his resume on there for y'all to look at to vote on, but since we couldn't get a vote, we had to get it.
Yeah, I remember I remember.
Was the
your-
job ever advertised?
I saw something where
No,
you worked
it
for
was
kitchen
The
law.
job
firm.
wasn't advertised?
No.
Okay.
And if you, if you don't already have my number, I'd be happy to give it to you, you know, whatever you need, just let me know. I'd be more than happy to do the best I can with whatever you need.
Lord.
Okay,
Keep
meeting's
pushing.
adjourned, I appreciate y'all coming and giving us your time. And look forward to seeing y'all, and everything that we talked about that I said I'd put on your desk, I'll get on there as quickly as I can.